freezes with his hand on the zipper, and he's debating whether he should go outside or not.
Sandlot!
And before he can even make that decision, whatever this thing is turns around and runs back into the woods, and it's just gone. And for several minutes, they just sit like that.
Sounds like we've got trouble.
Praying that whatever this is gone for good. And after several minutes, when they don't hear anything, there's no more laughing, there's no more running, Evan's father re-zips up the tent, puts his hand back down, and they're both left just sitting there thinking, what the heck is that? Evan and his father would stay up all night and they could barely speak, because whatever this thing was had heard them when they moved the zipper. And so they were really afraid of making any sound, even little sounds, because it's so quiet, sound travels really far, and they don't know who or what is out there. And so in silence, holding their guns, they're just waiting for the sun to come up. And as soon as it did, they were up and out of there, literally running out of the forest, checking over their shoulder the whole time, all the way back to their truck. And so to this day, they have no idea who or what the heck was running around out there. And they told the owner of the property about it, and the owner just said, it's not possible. We have a totally gated in private piece of property, and there are cameras watching the only entrance. And you are the only ones that went in or out over that time period, and prior to that, we monitor this property. Nobody else was in there. In 2016, a 25-year-old Wall Street banker named Matt was camping near Mount Rainier in Washington State.
Yeah.
His job was so hectic that in the rare times he got a chance to, he would disappear into the wilderness for a few days to clear his head. Despite living in one of the biggest cities in the world, Matt was actually a very competent outdoorsman, and so for this trip, he decided he would stay way off any trail, deep in the backcountry in random locations. On the first night, he found a nice clearing in the trees, and so he set up his campsite there. He ate some food over his fire, he pitched his tent, climbed inside, and within a few minutes, he was fast asleep. Several hours later, Matt woke up to some strange sounds coming from outside his tent. It sounded like a couple of animals or maybe one animal moving around right outside. And so after a while of just hearing this constant sound, he rolled over and barely unzipped his tent flap just to look out and see if he could see what animal it was. And what he saw shocked him. There was a man sitting in front of his fire pit. There's no fire in his fire pit. And the guy was just sitting there with his hands on his knees, looking straight down, and periodically he would just kick his feet in the ashes of the fire pit. And Matt didn't even know what to do, so he's just looking at him through this little tiny gap in his tent. And this man all of a sudden looks up directly at Matt and makes eye contact with him, and the guy's eyes go wide, and he stands up, turns around, and runs away from Matt's campsite. Matt has no idea how to react to this, and so he just quickly unzips his tent, jumps outside, and shines his light into the forest looking for this guy. He's thinking to himself, who is this guy? I am in the middle of nowhere in the backcountry of Washington State. How long was he sitting
We'll take it from
outside
here.
there for? What does he want? And so as Matt is trying to make sense of this totally weird thing, he's thinking, okay, I'm gonna look out and I'm gonna see him. Maybe he's set up nearby. He's looking around and he's total dark. Any light source anywhere out there he's seeing, and there's not one. There's fire, there's a flashlight. Matt goes back inside the tent, he zips it up, and he's just left kind of dumbfounded. He can't understand how some person outside the tent for no apparent reason, and then vanished into the forest without even turning on a flashlight. And so after a very finally, sun came up, Matt was very outside. And after a bit of time now from this strange incident, Matt started to tell himself that all that was is some guy happened to set up his campsite nearby. It's rare because we're in the backcountry, and maybe he was just intoxicated and he wandered over here, and you know, stranger things have happened. So Matt felt like there was nothing to worry about. He packed up his campsite and he began hiking into the forest. Matt didn't have a planned route. Instead, he had a map and a compass. And he began just kind of wandering in the forest, kind of exploring wherever he wanted to go.
Impressive.
And over the next 2 days, he covered at least 10, maybe 15 miles in kind of random
By the
zigzag
way,
directions.
have you
He
seen a
found
man
nice
named
clearing,
Axel?
And he set up another campsite.
I
That
expect
night,
he's
he
here
set up a fire
somewhere.
and he was eating some food
Like
near
I
the
care.
fire.
You
And as
see,
he's sitting there,
Axel's
he
no
hears
longer
rustling
acting
coming
in our
from
best
behind him.
interest.
And he's pretty sure it's an animal.
Is
so
he
turns
with the
around,
organization
doesn't see
too?
anything, and he goes back
Yes.
to eating his food.
You
And then
have
a little
enough
while
friends?
later, he hears some
Not
more
a very
rustling behind
organized
him. And
organization.
this time he can't really just write it off. Clearly,
Don't
there
let
was
your
something
guard
behind him
down.
that's moving around.
Axel
And so he
will
stood
stop
up,
at
turned
nothing
around, and
to
remained
turn you into a
motionless and
heartless.
just listened, expecting to see maybe a
Gee,
deer
thanks
come
for
out of
looking
the
out for
woods.
us, mister.
Instead, he
But
hears a
I'm sure we
man's
can take
voice
care of
come out the
ourselves
darkness
just
that
fine.
says,
Do you know how
Glad
to
to
get to
hear
Bell's
it.
Canyon?
and Matt's heart starts
Axel
racing.
aside,
He knows that
it
even
would
though
break
he
our
can't see him,
hearts to hear
it
something
has to
happen
be
to
the
you.
same guy he saw 2 days ago. Because they are in the middle of nowhere. He hasn't seen any other hikers or campers or anyone.
True,
and
we don't
clearly
have
this
hearts.
guy has the ability to sneak up on him.
But
and so he's thinking, what
we
does this
remember
guy
what it was
want?
like.
I just spent the past 2
That's
days
what makes us
hiking
special.
in random directions.
What do you mean?
Miles,
We
and he
know
must have
very well
followed me.
how
And
to
so Matt,
injure
not
a
knowing what else
heart.
to do, just says, I don't know where Bell's Canyon is.
Sora,
Then there's
you
silence.
just keep on
And Matt,
fighting
one
those
part of him is
heartless.
thinking, I hope this guy does not
Let's jump
move
in
away.
after him.
I hope he just goes away. The other
I'm not
part of him is
sure,
thinking, well,
but
you know,
maybe he'll lead
this
us to
is
the
a
organization's
different person
world.
that is lost, and they're looking
Don't
for
be
this place
reckless.
called Bell's Canyon.
Do you want to
They'll come
end
into
up
the
like
light,
Riku?
it'll be a big
What?
relief. I'll send them on their merry way, and everything will be fine. But as Matt is having this wishful thinking, the voice from the shadows
Hey,
does not come any
wait!
closer, but instead asks the same question, a bit more
What did he
forcefully
mean?
this time.
End
Do you
up
know
like
how to get to
Riku?
Bell's Canyon?
This time, Matt did not respond.
Hey.
Now he was scared. This
How
is
about you
not
get
some
out of my
friendly
town
hiker
now?
looking for directions.
You've caused
There's
enough
something
trouble.
wrong. And so Matt, knowing he's all
Riku.
alone out here, he knew he had to do something to try to take control of this situation.
Hold
So
it.
he took a deep breath, he reached down and grabbed his flashlight, and in one
This
swift
goes to the
motion, he
strongest
lifted his
guy in
light up
Twilight
and shined
Town.
it in the direction of this guy's voice. And what he saw was this
Thanks,
guy
but
from 2 days ago.
we don't really need
looking
it.
out from behind a tree right in Matt's direction,
Whoa!
hiding from him. And when the light hit him, the man barked at Matt to aim it away. And Matt kind of instinctively lowered his light, but now he was too scared to raise it again.
Oh,
and now
Sora.
he knows it's the same guy. This guy
Hence,
has
right?
been
Do you
following
know a
me
girl
for 2
named
days.
Kairi?
And so for several
Kairi?
minutes,
I
Matt
sure
just
do.
stood there,
Then you better come to the
absolutely
station.
terrified. And this guy, he just stayed out there. Matt didn't hear him move. It was just a complete standstill. And then the silence was broken yet again by this voice, except somehow he had moved even closer to Matt. And when he came through asking the same question,
Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?
his voice was so close to Matt that Matt got scared and raised his light up, and the man was standing just a few feet away from him. And this time, the man's eyes got wide like they did the first time they saw Matt, and he turned around and he ran into the forest again. Matt, not knowing any better, just began running after him, but he only ran for about 30 seconds before he realized the terrain out here is so rough. He's gonna fall, get hurt, he's gonna get lost, and this guy's already long gone. He somehow managed to run immediately so far away. And so Matt just goes back to his campsite, and he's thinking to himself, what do? I have no cell phone service. I'm at least 3 days away from my car, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. No one even knows where I am because I didn't chart a course. I didn't tell anyone where I was gonna be. And so Matt just grabbed his knife and stood in the middle of the campsite, and for hours and hours he just kept looking around, expecting this guy to just show up again or start speaking to him from somewhere out in the darkness. It was absolutely horrifying. Finally,
Hey,
by about 3 in the
so
morning,
how do you
Matt
guys
was
know Kairi?
so tired that he had to go to sleep. He hadn't heard this guy again, he didn't see him again, and he figured, I need a little bit of sleep because tomorrow he's gonna pack up his campsite.
Kairi
and
was
begin this
really
epic
here?
journey back to his
Yeah.
car. So he climbed in his tent,
And
he had a
she
very
said she was
restless
looking for
next
you.
couple of hours.
Tell me
The
where
sun
she
came
is.
up, Matt jumped out of
Well-
his tent, packed up his stuff, and
What a
began
romantic
practically running in
story.
the direction of his car. All day,
If you
as
stick
he was
around,
hiking,
Sora's
Matt kept
bound to
looking
show
over
up.
his shoulder,
Yeah, he
expecting
said he's
to see
coming
this
back.
guy, because clearly he
Okay.
had followed him for multiple
What took you
days,
so
over
long,
15
Kairi?
miles, and so the likelihood that he's still following him was really high. And so all
Somehow,
day, Matt
I
felt
just
like he was
knew
watched,
you'd
he
be
was totally
here.
terrified, and then the sun started
I tell
to
you,
go down,
Kairi,
and Matt knew he would
you've
have
got
to
a lot
camp
of
out
guts
again.
jumping right
So
into the
he got
darkness
in the
like
trees,
that.
He set up his campsite, and he was so tired from running basically all day and being so mentally exhausted from this experience that he just got in his tent and fell asleep very quickly. But several hours later, he woke up to the sound of somebody walking
Let go
around
of
his
me.
tent. He knew
Let
he had to
go.
be this guy. He's still in the middle of nowhere. He's not even close to the parking lot. And so this guy is still following him. So Matt sat up in his tent, he clutched his knife, and for hours and hours and hours, all night, this guy just walked around his campsite. And then around 4 or 5 in the morning,
Kairi.
he scampered off. When the sun finally came up, Matt leapt out of
You
his
think
tent,
it might have been
packed his
Axel?
stuff, and literally just began running in the direction
Sorry.
of his car, hoping
Hey,
that maybe he
it's
could
not
get
your
there
fault.
before needing to camp out
Come
one
on,
more night.
cheer
And
up.
so all day as he moved, he's looking over his shoulder,
Like I
knowing
can even
this guy
say
is
that.
following him. At this point, it's not even a question.
I
He's
gotta
so
help Kairi.
focused, but he could never see him. And unfortunately, as the sun was setting, he knew he
That
was
was
not going to be able to
close.
make it to his car. He was just too far away. And so at some point, when it got too dark to keep moving, he had to find a clearing and set up his tent again. And so Matt climbed inside of his tent, he zipped it up behind him, he grabbed his knife, and he sat there, expecting to hear this guy come walking around. But after several hours, he didn't hear him. And Matt started to wonder, maybe this guy has left me alone, finally. Maybe he's not following me anymore. And so Matt, who was totally exhausted, laid down to go to sleep. And then, as he's laying there, from somewhere out in the woods,
Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?
Matt immediately sat up. His heart began racing so fast that he actually was concerned he might have a heart attack. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to say, so he just sat there
Sora,
holding
are
his
you
knife.
okay?
And this guy began running
What?
past his campsite, making animal sounds, and he would stop periodically and moan and grunt, and he'd pick up leaves, and then he'd run past his campsite again, over and over and over again, until the sun finally came up and this guy scampered off back into the woods. Matt didn't waste any time. He leapt out of his tent, packed his stuff up, and ran all the way back to the car. When he finally got inside of his car, shut the door, and locked it, he cried tears of joy. He was so unbelievably relieved. And he peeled out of the parking lot, he got to a nearby hotel, finally got cell phone reception, and he considered calling the police about this guy, but he thought, what am I going to tell them? He didn't commit a crime. It was terrifying. And so he decided not to call the police. Finally flew back to New York, and he just had to accept that there was some strange guy out in the wilderness
What
of
just
Washington
happened?
State who was able
A
to
new
hunt
road
him
is
over
open,
3 days
and
30
Kairi and
miles
Riku are
in
waiting
rugged
somewhere
terrain
along it.
without the use of a
better
flashlight,
hurry
without
then.
any gear.
You coming back?
All he ever
Promise.
said to Matt was,
Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?
Wait, don't go anywhere. We actually have a bonus story for you. This final story has quickly become one of the classics on this channel. It's a story about a forest in Connecticut that is actually illegal to enter, basically because of maybe paranormal activity out there, we don't know, but it is actually illegal to go into this forest. There's a whole crazy story around it. I actually told the story on a live stream recently about Dudleytown, and so we went ahead and took that footage, we edited it, made it really pretty, and you get to watch it in case you didn't see it live. Enjoy.
I passed on the message as you so desired. I told the young Sora to keep
In the
defeating
summer of
the
1906,
heartless.
there was this couple, Dr. William Clark
Good.
and his wife Harriet, and they
Not
were up
only
in
have you the
northwestern
power
Connecticut,
to
and they're
inflict
driving along this
pain,
winding country road in a place called
You also
Litchfield
have the
County.
power to plant
As they're driving
seeds
along,
of
it's so
doubt
scenic and beautiful with rolling
in
hills
one's
and green
receptive
everywhere.
heart.
And what they were doing is they were looking for a location
Sora
in this
will
area
soon
that
begin
could
to
serve as a
doubt
location
himself.
for their second home. So
It will
Dr.
cause
Clark
him
was an
to
oncologist,
hesitate.
and they lived back in New York
And that
City,
hesitation
where
will turn
he
to
and his wife lived
anger.
kind of a fabulous life. You
That
know, he was
anger
super
will
successful. He
fuel
was not
him
only
to
a
get rid of his
oncologist,
apprehension
he was a big-time professor
and
as
move
well.
forward.
And so they lived this amazing life.
He will
in New
pave
York,
the way
but,
for the
their
future
lives
we
were
desire.
really hectic. New York City is a hectic place. Add in the
There's
fact that they were
something
very social
I've
people,
meant to
always going
ask.
out and going to functions and this and that.
About
And so they had
Axel,
some extra money, and they wanted to,
the poor
buy
fool.
or build a
How
second home
long
that
will
would
he
kind of serve
keep
as
chasing
their
the
retreat
illusion
away
of
from the city.
friendship
And
when
after
he himself
I
lacks
guess looking all
emotion,
around the country, they found
trying
Litchfield
so hard to
County was kinda like
retrieve what he
the
has
opposite
lost,
of New York City. I mean,
when it
very
may
few people
never
were
have
living there at the
existed
time, and again,
in
it's
the
this beautiful
first
scenic
place.
And so it just seemed kind
He
of like
deserves
the perfect
nothing
spot.
more than
So
our
again, Dr.
pity.
Clark and Harriet, they're just driving along, beautiful day, and they eventually, in Litchfield County, they eventually reach this beautiful red wood-covered bridge. And they go over it, and when they get to the other side, their field of view opened
The
up
king,
because there weren't as many
Riku,
trees right on the other side.
And now
of
I've
this
lost
bridge.
Kairi again, too.
And they suddenly had this view up and to the right, maybe
Don't be
half a mile
sad.
away or something, of this
Donald's
weirdly
right, you know.
shaded
Why,
forest.
you're
Now, you
the
gotta
key that
remember
connects
basically
everything.
everywhere they're looking, there's trees everywhere.
So it's
I mean,
all
it's very
my
densely
fault.
forested everywhere. But there was just this one
Gorge,
kind of
I didn't mean
rise of a
that.
pretty big
Just do
hill,
what comes
prominent
natural
hill
to you, and
that
we're sure to
was
find 'em.
really dark, like totally shaded. And
You
it was because
shut
there's
up.
two mountains or two hills on either side of it, almost creating
Thanks,
like a
guys.
valley. And so it just looked like, wow, that's a very shaded forest. And as you'll see, it's actually called
Oh,
the
no.
Dark Entry
Follow
Forest, in
Bastion.
part because
It's
of
all
how
covered
shaded
in
it is.
darkness.
And so they've just
You're
come out
right,
of this
Chipper.
bridge, and they're seeing this
I wonder
area up
what's
on this
going
hill. There's
on.
no buildings, nothing. It's just trees.
Sora,
And
we
there
better
was
hurry
just
and check
something
it out right
immediately
away.
about it that really stood out to Dr. Clark and his wife. And they noticed that the road they were on, there appeared to be like an access road that kind of splintered off the road they were on that appeared to go up into that forest, the Dark Entry Forest. And so they look at each other and they're like, hey, let's go up there. Maybe that's the place where we can find our spot for our second home. And so Dr. Clark pulls off the main road, goes on the access road, and he begins making
Do
his
you
way
think-
up towards this.
Looks like there's more Heartless now.
And really quickly, the road itself was very overgrown. You know, at first it seemed like it was relatively
Let's
well
go
maintained,
check in with
but
everyone.
The farther up they went
I
towards
think
this
they're
dark
at
forest,
Merlin's.
the rougher it got, to the point where Dr. Clark couldn't even drive on it. There was too many potholes and everything. So they end up pulling the car over and parking. And at this point, they're actually in a bit of a clearing, and they can actually see up ahead of them where they parked. It looks almost like an entry point to the forest. The tree line is right in front of them, and there's kind of like a gap in the trees where this rugged road kind of continues into the forest, and they continue walking on foot towards the entry of this forest. Again, it's beautiful, scenic, very sunny, beautiful day. They're super excited, and
Cloud.
they walk into the shade of the forest. And right away, it's like all the
What you
sunlight
doing?
basically vanishes, but not in a spooky
get
way.
'em.
Kind of like in a.
This
They
time,
lowered the
we settle
brightness
it.
slightly, and it's very quiet.
Me and the one
the
who
canopy
embodies all the
in Dark
darkness
Entry
in me.
Forest is known for being really, really thick, and so not
I
much
said
light was
you
pushing
get
through.
kinda
But it
different,
created almost
Cloud.
like it was like they were walking into a bubble.
If I do,
you know, it's just pure,
it's his fault.
unadulterated
Whose?
silence and peace.
Sephiroth.
And as they're walking on
Tell
this
me if you
road,
see
which
him.
quickly becomes mostly like a little
What's he
path.
look
It doesn't
like?
even look like a road at some point. It's
Silver
just kind of
hair.
like grass that's been pushed
Carries
down.
a long
Clearly,
sword.
not many people
Sure.
or anything is coming into this forest.
Well,
at least
be
not
seeing
from
you,
this
Cloud.
direction. And as they're
Be
walking
careful.
along, they're looking around.
He messes
and
with
they're
your
like,
head.
This place
Makes
is
you think
so
darkness is the only
beautiful.
way.
I mean, it was already beautiful, but this is especially
something wrong?
beautiful. Like they walked maybe a couple hundred feet into the forest, and off to their right is this apple orchard, untouched. No one's
nothing.
taking these apples. It's just like a wild apple orchard. And
I don't
there's
want you
deer
involved.
that are just eating the apples off the tree, and they're looking over at Dr. Clark and his wife, and they're completely unafraid. They don't
You
see
mean
people.
you
so
don't
this-
want
this
me
is
there
not
when you
terrifying
go
for them.
away again?
Deer just eating their
I just-
apples, and then on the other side of the road, there's these huge fields full
Even
of
if I go
flowers.
far
that are,
away,
again, trees are everywhere, but
I'll
there's
come
all
back.
these flowers at the
Do
bases
you
of the
mean it?
trees. Lilies and roses and
Yeah.
yellow bitter tansies, or
See?
I think that's what they're
You don't
called.
look so
all these
sure.
beautiful flowers. And then at some
Well,
point, as they walked a little
okay,
bit farther
I
into
understand.
this dark entry forest,
get things settled.
the sunlight that was poking through, it
No
was,
matter
it was
how
hitting,
far away you are.
the ground in such a way that it was actually
Once
sparkling.
you find your
because this forest
I'm
was
sure
actually
it will
on
lead you
a
back here
hillside,
again.
and there was this mineral called mica. If you're
Right?
familiar, it's like this
I
little
suppose.
translucent. It
So
almost
I'll
looks like
stay
kind
here.
of clouded glass. That's actually
And
a
I'll cheer
mineral
for
that comes
you.
from the ground. And when the sunlight hits it, it
Okay,
kind of looks
Cloud?
like it sparkles. And so they're
Okay.
looking around at these wild animals that are unafraid of them, and flowers, and there's babbling brooks and streams. I mean, it's like out of a
Wonder if
Disney
he'll be
movie. This is
okay.
like a perfect place.
He'll be fine.
And so by the time
I'm sure
the
there's some
couple
light in him
came
somewhere.
out of Dark Entry Forest, this is only
You're right.
they walked around for maybe an hour or so. By the time they were coming out, they were completely sold that was going to be where they went ahead and bought their land to build a second home. And so they go back to New York City, and they put in the paperwork to buy the land, and they buy 1,000 acres. It's ridiculous to imagine just casually buying 1,000 acres anywhere. But they did. They bought their 1,000 acres. And as soon as they had it, as soon as it was finalized, Dr. Clark began calling around to all these builders, local builders in Connecticut, that could help him build his home. And he had no intention of building some humongous home. They bought a huge amount of land, but they only wanted to build a small cabin. But despite the job being relatively simple, anybody who was willing to go out there and build this for him, the builders would do it. They never really gave a straight answer to Dr. Clark about why they would not go into Dark Entry Forest, but universally, no one would do it. And so, Dr. Clark, he definitely was discouraged by that, but he just kind of chalked it up to, okay, so obviously it's kind of an isolated place. It's relatively hard to get into Dark Entry Forest, and where they had bought this land, it was pretty far into the forest.
And so he just decided, okay, it just might not be worth it for them. It's logistically kind of a nightmare. They don't want to do it. And so Dr. Clark is undeterred, and he decides he will just build the house himself. Dr. Clark, he grew up on a farm in New Jersey. He was a very handy guy. He had built buildings before, so this was something he could do. And so over the next several months, every weekend, Dr. Clark would make his way on his own to Dark Entry Forest, and it also was full of owls that were hooting all the time. So there's like this audio side of being in this forest, which is really intense. Like there's owls hooting constantly. And actually, Dr. Clark and Harriet thought it was really cute that these owls, it seemed like they were almost personally greeting them as they came into the forest. And so Dr. Clark, every weekend for several months, he would go into Dark Entry Forest and be greeted by the owls, and he would go to the land where the 1,000-acre land, and actually he had identified this one kind of flat spot in the 1,000 acres that was good for building a home. And so the first thing he did over these several weekends he was out there is he just cut down this massive swath of hemlock trees, just kind of clearing out that flat area, and then he chopped up the trees he cut down into lumber, and he used that to build a rustic, simple 2-story cabin. And then after this cabin was built, kind of up on this hill, there happened to be another hill not too far away from the cabin where there was a freshwater spring right at the top. And so, Dr. Clark, he went up and laid piping from the freshwater spring down to his cabin, so they had fresh water in the cabin. And then down the hill from where the cabin was constructed was a small brook. And Dr. Clark, he found himself always going down and just staring into this beautiful brook because there were all these trout, because nobody fished out here. This is like an abandoned place, basically. There's all these trout just swimming around unencumbered, just leaping out of the water. If they even do that, I don't know if trout do that. I think they do. And so he ended up building a swimming pool right next to it, specifically so he could sit in the swimming pool and watch the trout. And so by Thanksgiving of that year, so 1906, by Thanksgiving, the property was done. The cabin had been built, everything was done. And so that holiday season, Dr. Clark and Harriet and their whole family would come out and sitting in their pool, watching the crowd, and just having a wonderful time. And really for many years, every summer and every major holiday, the Clark family would come out to their beautiful Dark Entry cabin and they would stay there. And it was really perfect. That is, until 1918. In 1918, in the summer, Dr. Clark and Harriet were at their cabin, and they were having a nice time when Dr. Clark got word that he was actually being called back to New York City. And for whatever reason, Harriet, who would have joined him and just gone back to New York with him, she decided they've been coming here for years by this point, so she probably felt somewhat comfortable. Although, admittedly, she was very unhappy about this. She didn't want to be there alone, but again, she decides to stay. But she tells Dr. Clark, because she didn't know how long he would actually be in New York, and he didn't really know either. But she said, "You've got to promise me you'll be back here as soon as you possibly can." And Dr. Clark would tell her that, I'll do my best. I should be back here in maybe, a couple of days from now. And I promise you I will come home as soon as I possibly can. And so Dr. Clark packs up his things, and he and his wife, they leave their cabin. They, walk their way down the trail, listening to the owls and looking at the mica sparkling on the ground. And they leave the forest and they make their way to a nearby train station, which actually was not that far away from the entry to the forest. And Harriet dropped off her husband, and she watched, as he, boarded and it began taking off, and he disappeared to go to New York. And Dr. Clark, as he's vanishing, traveling on this train, he's thinking to himself that, okay, I'll be in New York just for a couple of days. I'll be home. I'll be back in no time. Little did he know, over the course of time he was going to be in New York, his wife would endure something that is just truly horrifying. So, before I explain to you what happened after Dr. Clark left, you need to understand some history about this forest. History that Dr. Clark and Harriet did not look into before deciding to purchase these 1,000 acres. Because had they done the research into this area, they likely would not have bought the land. So there actually used to be a town that was settled in the Dark Entry Forest. It was called Dudleytown. And it was settled in the 1740s. And at first it was just a couple of families just getting by, but pretty quickly it grew to about 30 families and several structures and houses and the whole 9 yards. Like, it's a small community inside of this beautiful forest, and things were great.
Excuse
for
me,
a small
are you
town
with the
in
Restoration
1700s,
Committee?
Things were stable. But starting at the end of the 1700s, like in the 1790s,
What's
up to about
Leon's
the
gang up to?
1800s,
They've got
things
stuff to
started
do
go
over by the castle
really,
postern.
really badly in Dudleytown. And in fact,
Let's
because
report.
of how badly it went, it earned this.
Our leader, of
the
course.
conclusion was that Dudleytown
Yeah,
had to
you
be
know.
cursed. And that lore had stuck around, which is actually why those builders refused to do the work for Dr. Clark, because they believed it
Don't
was
mind
it was a
her.
cursed
I
place.
assure you.
So
We
this is
come
what
in
led to
peace.
it being believed to be cursed. And
You're
I'll tell you, it's
kidding.
pretty creepy.
Problem?
So it started with the Carter family.
Okay, fine.
So the Carter family,
You do the
big
talking.
family inside Dudleytown, and it was in
So sorry about
1790,
this.
1792. There was this cholera epidemic that broke out in this small town, and 6 members of the Carter family died really suddenly from cholera. And the remaining members of the Carter family, which was significant, they were so grief-stricken from the loss that they decided to just literally abandon their houses in Dudleytown and go back to New York City, where they happened to be from as well, same as Dr. Clark. But as soon as they died, they were massacred by natives that lived in the area. And the only people that survived this massacre were 3 children, and the 3 children were kidnapped and never seen again. And so that was the start of bad things happening to people in Dudleytown. The next thing that happened is there was a guy named Hollister. We don't know his last name, but he either fell off a roof or he was pushed. We don't really know, but either way, he died. But he died on or near another person's home whose name was Tanner. Okay, so Hollister dies, and he dies on or near Tanner's home. And after Hollister died, which again, it was shrouded in mystery, Tanner, with the home that began obsessively about strange creatures lurking around the tree line inside of Dark Entry Forest, right around Dudleytown, every night. That's all he saw. So guy dies, and all of a sudden Tanner is noticing all these strange creatures. And he's telling everybody in town that there's something going on here. And so slowly, Tanner, every night, he would see whatever he was seeing, and it drove him insane, completely insane, to the point where he couldn't even function, and his daughter had to take care of him until he passed away. And as Tanner was losing his mind, his next-door neighbor, whose name was Abel, began to talk as well about these creatures that were coming to the edge of the tree line surrounding Dudleytown most nights. And just like Tanner, Abel as well slowly lost his mind over these creatures because nobody believed him. And then all the way up until like just past the 1800s, so many people just randomly died in Dudleytown. Some from disease for sure, but others they'd just be found dead. And then many people as well began citing these strange creatures that were lurking all around. By 1900, the only family that was still alive in Dudleytown was this family called the Brophies. And it was a fairly big family, and the mother, she suddenly died of cholera. The 2 sons, they were accused of theft in another town and then fled and vanished. And so literally it's down to John Brophy, the actual last person who's living in Dudleytown. And one night, he didn't know why, apparently he didn't know why, but his cabin burned to the ground. And after his cabin, or while his cabin was burning, people were called out. They saw the smoke. They came out to put out this fire. And the last anyone saw of John, who's lost his whole family, he's lost everything, is he just turned and walked deeper into the forest and was never seen again. And no one could find him. That was it. And that was the last person who lived in Dudleytown. And that marked the moment that Dudleytown went from, still being occupied to being a literal ghost town. And you can actually look up the newspaper article that documented the moment when Dudleytown became a ghost town. No one lives there. A few years later is when Dr. Clark and Harriet were taking their stroll through Litchfield County and up into Dark Entry Forest and saying, wow, this is the place for us. And they saw the ruins of Dudleytown. They walked past the crumbling foundations of these old homes, and there was all these remnants of this town that was still there, but much the way they viewed the owls as being kind of charming, they also viewed this rundown old town that was gone as kind of cute, and it made them want to stay there more. So they were aware of the town, but didn't do the research. Apparently Dudleytown was cursed, and that is where they bought their land. So, fast forward to 1918. So Dr. Clark, he's left for this emergency trip to New York, and it would turn out he was only needed in New York for 36 hours. It was, as short as he could have expected it to be. So less than 2 days later, keeping his word to his wife, he's back on a train, and he's heading back to that stop where Harriet had dropped him off near the Dark Entry Forest. And although this was rare that, Dr. Clark would leave his wife in the cabin, he expected her to be waiting for him at the train station. They didn't have any time that he was plan, but he had said, I'll be here in 1 or 2 days max, and so he just kind of expected his wife to check the schedule and be at the train platform. But as he's pulling into the station, he sees his wife is not there. Now, this was not some huge cause for concern, but it was enough of a red flag that as, he's pulling into the station, Dr. Clark is thinking, so he ended up going from the train station. He walked the rest of the way. He didn't take a car or anything. He walked to that access road and made his way up to the entry of Dark Entry Forest. And as soon as he walked into the forest, so daylight out here, he steps into the canopy and it's dark again. And remember, he used to feel so now it has a different feel. He steps into the forest and suddenly it feels threatening. It feels ominous. And the owls that are hooting the whole time he steps in, it didn't feel like they were greeting him. It felt like they were telling him to leave. But he had to find his wife, and he's thinking she's up at the cabin. That's where we need to go. And so he begins kind of jogging, fast walking, he's getting a little nervous through the forest. Sounds of louder and louder and more threatening until finally when he gets to the clearing, when he can actually look up and see where he built his cabin up on this hill, it's like a cacophony of noise. It's just constant hooting, almost like it doesn't even sound like hooting. It's just a loud sound that's constant. And so Dr. Clark is starting to panic, but he gets even more panicked when he looks up at the cabin. He doesn't see his wife, but he sees the front door to this cabin is slightly ajar. And so Dr. Clark, he runs the rest of the way up the hill. Owls hooting the whole time. He gets to the door, and he's terrified. He knows there's something wrong here, but he gets the courage. He opens up the front door, and the second he steps into this home, which he has loved and spent years and years in with his family, he steps in and everything is different.
I'm looking for somebody.
Instead of it
Have
being
any
peaceful,
of you seen a guy with spiky
this
hair?
almost high-pitched sound, like inside of his head for a second, and he's confused. And then he hears what sounds like maniacal laughter coming from the second floor. He doesn't see anybody on the first floor. He thinks it's his wife.
Take a look
so he charges upstairs. He gets to the landing, and he sees the door to his bedroom, where he would expect his wife to be, is slightly open. And he can hear this laughter coming from inside of this room, this maniacal, crazy, loud, high-pitched laughter. And he's totally panicked. He goes to the door, and he opens it up, and there, in the back corner of the bedroom,
Sorry to bother
is his
you.
wife. And she's in the fetal position, and her mouth and the laughter that he's hearing is coming out of her body, but her jaw isn't moving. Her chest is heaving, and this maniacal laughter is just coming out of her as she stares him dead in the eyes.
So you made it.
And so Dr. Clark, he was so terrified of what he was seeing and all the hooting and all this craziness going on that he just turned and ran away. We don't know what happened to Harriet Clark over those 36 hours that her husband was gone, but something happened to her. And when she was taken away from this cabin, the only thing she would say is the strange creatures kept coming back. I kept seeing strange creatures. Same thing that all the people in Dudleytown had said that caused them to flee the town. And so we don't know exactly what became of Harriet. There is one account that says she was forever, she went to a mental hospital and stayed there until she passed. Another account says she went back to New York with Dr. Clark, where she took her life. But either way, the final thing was she claimed to have seen the strange creatures and lost her mind as well. Following the story, Dark Entry Forest really took on this unbelievable legend. I mean, people knew about this story. They knew about the legend of the 1700s and 1800s, but this felt recent. I mean, this was a documented case of this doctor's wife. And so it spawned a lot of people going into Dark Entry Forest to see what's
Kairi?
out there.
Where's Riku?
And lots of people who go into that forest before it became illegal reported feeling phantom hands slapping them on the back and feeling really intense pockets of cold air. And actually, the very famous paranormal couple, Ed and Lorraine Warren, in the 1970s, they went out and ran the special series about what happened in the Dark Forest. and they came out and said,
You'll like
absolutely, that
Stitch.
forest is demonically possessed.
Flippy just saw Stitch on the ceiling. Stitch just
So that's gonna do it. If you enjoyed today's collection of strange, dark, and mysterious
Attention
stories,
current
looking for
user.
more content
This
like that,
is a warning.
Remember, we have a whole
Further
slew of
misuse of this
podcasts
terminal
under the
will result in
Ball Studios
immediate
umbrella.
defensive
All
action.
these podcasts
Who's
are
there?
amazing. It's all bingeable
I am the
content,
Master Control
and it's
Program.
available right now
I
for free.
oversee
All you
this
have to do is
system.
go to any podcast
Where
platform,
are you?
look up Ballin Studios, and boom, there's all our podcasts to choose from. Okay, that's gonna do it.
Donald!
Thank you so much for your support. Until next time, see you.
Decision gate breached. You are now under arrest.
Arrest?
Oh, Donald.
Run!
This is me. This pause screen represents my mental state right now. Thank you very much. Hey guys, and welcome
Go on,
to
show 'em
GT
who's
Not
boss.
Live, where today it's a catastrophe. A catastrophe crow.
Who are you?
Phew, that's
I
what
am
say.
Commander Sark.
A heartless commander?
We're playing Catastrophe Crow, and
Observe.
for the sake of expediency,
Okay,
and to
you're the
limit
boss.
all of our collective
I get it.
frustration, you on the viewing end, me on the playing end, and Ash on the scheduling end. Ash is going to be my walkthrough guide.
Yeah, I'm like a campus tour guide.
Yeah, you have your little umbrella, and you're walking backwards.
Exactly.
And you're showing off all the dorms.
Right.
But you're not showing us inside the dorms, because if you show inside the dorms, every parent who is thinking of bringing their kid to that college is going to be like,
Man,
heck no!
what
this is
kind
a
of
bad
world
place.
is this
Yeah,
anyway?
you're gonna see the mold, and then you're gonna be like,
You're
I'm
inside
gonna
a
get mold
mainframe
poisoning or
computer
lead
system.
poisoning from the water fountains.
A what
yeah.
system?
There's a lot of different kinds of
A
poisonings
computer
you can
system
get at,
for
uni-
processing
not
data.
university campuses, duh. Well, yes.
This
university
system is a
campuses, but
copy
in
of
the
one
United
created
States
by a
is what I meant to
corporation
say.
called ENCOM.
Poisonings abound.
The original program was
So many
destroyed.
poisonings. You get a poison. You get a poisoning.
But this
Well, I
copy
mean,
was
you heard
acquired
about
by
the
another
poisonings
user.
Of like 20,
The new user
19
updated
through
and customized the
2023.
program, renaming the system Hollow Bastion OS.
No, but seriously, like
He used the
right after
system
I
for
left
town
high
maintenance.
school,
Yeah.
there was
and
this
to
whole
advance his-
scandal about unsafe levels of lead
Yeah.
in all the water fountains. Woohoo!
It adds a nice flavor to it, doesn't it?
Oh, it was so crisp.
Oh, the crispest.
They nailed it in the building that I was in the most frequently in junior and senior. Senior year, so you know, probably did a lot of
Private
things to my
research.
brain.
My name is
And
Tron.
that's why you're here now.
And that's
I'm a
why
security
I'm here.
program.
That's why you're my co-host.
Now I'm
on this
under
show.
arrest.
It's the lead.
Same as
It
you.
is the lead. Did
you guys get any of
I
that?
sustained a lot of head injuries as a child.
Gorge.
So maybe,
You know, maybe
yeah,
we should
a lot of
just
head
introduce
injuries.
ourselves.
So maybe that has also contributed to who we are today.
I'm Sora.
There's nature, there's nurture, and then there's head injuries.
Nice to meet you,
and or
Tron.
legs.
Well, I'm Goofy.
There it is. I know we
With
have a
that
lot to get through
configuration,
today
Yes.
in
you
order
must
to
be
beat this game.
users.
So real quick,
Users?
speed run witty banter.
Okay.
So
One.
You better get out of here
When I was
quickly.
at talking about
Who knows what the MCP will do
This
to
is
you?
this is the sort of thing where I'm like, oh, if we had
MCP?
like branch
Master
out into, like, pure
Control
conversation.
Program.
So speed run. When I took a campus tour at Princeton,
It controls
I took a
the
lot
whole
of,
system.
Like my family.
If you idle here, you will be derezed.
Oh my god!
It was crazy. Right?
So,
were
how do we
going
get
up
out of
and
here?
down the East Coast. Every holiday, every spring break, whatever, my family and I would
So,
take a
yeah,
road trip.
some
and
This terminal
do
could have
sure
gotten you
whatever,
back to the
but then
user
on the
world.
way there, we would visit like 3 or 4 campuses
But the
as well.
MCP
Just
cut
'cause
the
my parents
power
never gone to
50
college,
microcycles
they
ago.
knew because I had really good grades that
If we could bring the energy
hopefully
core
would have
in the
had a
canyon
what college I
online,
wanted to go to,
we
so
could
they
power it
wanted to
back
make sure
up.
that I got it right. And so from sophomore year of high school
The
to
problem is,
senior year of
we're
high
stuck
school,
in this cell.
everything was like, go visit college.
We're not going
get familiar
anywhere
with them,
unless
and
we
it's really
unlock
fun.
the energy fields.
So I saw a lot of them, and there's probably a lot of stories that come out of them. But one of the most memorable campus tours was the one that happened at Princeton, mostly because of the parents that were involved and the type of questions that they asked. Because, you know, you get all sorts of types at these sorts of places. And I think in a lot of cases, the higher up in academia or the more prestigious a college tends to have, or like the more of a reputation it has, the more serious and try hard the parents get. Because they're, my child's gonna go to Princeton. The psychology and insecurities of parenthood are abound. And as a parent of a small child, I see a lot of that in my day-to-day interactions and as I learn more about parents. But now, in retrospect, I see it a lot in the campus tours. And I'm like, oh, I understand now why parents were acting that way. It's very, very funny. But my favorite question of all time, the reason I bring this up in the first place, is because there was this one parent the entire time who asked the
Master Control, why not just derez
that everyone in
Tron?
the campus tour would be like,
I still haven't located the password to the data space.
What
about a logic probe? With all your processing power,
how many
out of the question. The current environment hampers the processing power needed for such an analysis.
That was
You're dismissed,
but
sir.
then, like, we're in the middle
Stop
of
any remaining anomalies in the system, or else.
How is bike
End of
theft on
line.
campus?
Acknowledged.
I've heard that one asked before.
Wait, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Wait, I thought it was the most random. I'm like, what? And to be fair, there was an answer, right? The tour guide was like, oh, the crew team actually steals a lot of bikes to get down to their early morning crew practices at the like river or at the lake or whatever it was. And so a lot of kids will find their bikes missing, but the easy way to find them is they're just down at the lake or whatever, you know, the docks or whatever it is. So that was the answer. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, what the heck is the guy who asked how many stalls are in bathrooms? How is bike theft on campus? And then there was like one other thing about like the nutritional guidelines of like the cafeteria or something. I don't know. So hard. Anyway, what, you heard this one though?
Yes, that was asked at I think one of my orientation sessions. But my school had a system where we had a bunch of university bikes that were kind of locked in at these stations. And you would put in your ID or whatever, and then you could bring these bikes out. And they were all branded around the university. So I think you pay for it like $0.25 an hour or something. And then you return it back to one of the university stations. So that's kind of how they combated it, because it's like, oh, they could just lock down the ID of who had it last. If it got stolen, then they just look for whoever has a university bike.
I like that you went like they look. they'll just look for whoever. Let me scan the bride ID.
That one looks blue enough.
Zoom in with my telescope. My spying glass. Yarg. Okay, so that was my
the energy
There was going to be a second route that I was going to go with like the different routes through the witty banter. But I forgot the second route at this point, and also this took longer than I expected. So let's hop into Catastrophe Crow, shall we?
Yeah, let's hop on in.
So it seems like we have started at the beginning again, which ain't great, but also last time we made a little bit of bitty progress.
Yeah.
So guide me through, Ash.
Okay, so let's see if we can hit the things that we didn't get to without needing to go to the other things that we did previously.
Wow, thank you. That was that was kind of confusing.
Well, it makes a lot of sense if you're me. So I want you to go on, like, turn this corner here.
Yes.
Wrong corner. Nope.
Oh.
In the back.
How about go to the back of the building?
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's early.
And can I climb to the top? Because I did that before, and that was exciting.
You could, but I'm actually more interested in that thing that you're on right now.
Yes. Okay, yes, you're interested in this thing.
Yes.
Uh-huh. I rubbed and tapped.
You shoved and rubbed.
Shoved and rubbed. Oh. I shoved, rubbed, and drowned myself. This is not great. So by jumping, I revealed a secret line, apparently.
Yes.
And again, this is going to that skill that we unlocked last time, which was the classic shoving rub.
Exactly.
So really, I mean, really, episode 1 of us doing this was just hampered by the fact that we weren't shoving and rubbing enough.
So true.
But now that we know the shove and rub technique, we just gotta do it on everything. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh, there's a secret teddy bear. Uh-oh. Secret lore bear. Should I shove and rub this teddy bear? That's a grumbly bear. It's the Illuminati! Bill Cipher is in Catastrophe Crow! Okay, so I'm, oh, and he's gone. Cool. So I'm assuming that's leading me to one of the office desk spaces, and I'm supposed to touch those 3 desks that are the points of the triangle.
I think that's certainly worth a shot.
That would be my guess. Oh, and now we are underwater.
Yeah.
Life comes at you fast in the Catastrophe Crow, unless you're just fumbling around like we were last time. Oh, oh, jeez. I'm not allowed to touch a fish here. Okay, they're moving very quickly. Is there an opening? Okay, there's an open gap right there. Is there a time when they're all gonna sync up? Can I shove and rub myself against these fish? If I shove and rub a fish, am I good to go? Okay, no, nope, nope. Nope, don't. Stop. No, oh, ah, ah! There's gotta be, I can't be expected to actually time this, am I? There's no world. There's no world where I'm supposed to do this. Do I climb the fish? Do I leap over the fish? I can't leap over the fish. Do I scare the fish with my masculine charms? Is that what I do? Do I feed the fish with some sort of device or plant or fish food of some form? What do we got going on here? Go! Oh, there it was. Oh, there was the opening. I saw an opening. There was a moment where the fish aligned. Okay, wait for it. Wait for it. Wait. Continue. Way to go, 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 go. He is so slow. There's no world. Okay, this is one of those times, Ash.
Mm-hmm. One of those times where?
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 I should probably just leave and come back later.
That would be correct.
Okay, okay. I'm like, I'm not doing this correctly.
I wanted to see how long you would try. Honestly.
Mean, you're talking to me. Like I could be there. Oh, I gotta ride all the way back. I can't just like teleport my way back. Okay.
So what did you want us to do?
Me, man. I'm the biggest tryhard.
Find my user. He'll give you the password to access the DTD.
Within the first first town
so,
or two. Mostly
DTD is the name my user gave to the data space. Copies of all the original system programs are stored there, along with anything that's sensitive or restricted.
I eventually did it.
Is there stuff about the Heartless or Organization 13?
And I kind of broke the game at that point.
Oh,
so, yeah,
most likely.
Okay. Well, this is another time.
A number of my functions were appropriated when I last took on the MCP. That's why I need the password.
Yeah, let's go to a different place.
Fantastic. All right,
if I can get inside the DTD, I can access my original backup program and restore all my functions.
Yeah.
You're giving me just the amount
Then
of time
I'll be able to put this system back the way it was before the MCP got control and changed everything. The way it was supposed to be. A free system for you, the users.
Well, we need to communicate to the audience that we tried.
Yes,
Gee, Tron, ain't the MCP one of those programs too? Do you know who it was who made it?
There's a lot of
Actually,
do in any of these moments, right? Just to remind the audience, hey.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll just have to find your user and ask him. What's his name?
The thing that we found
You mean you don't know?
I'm gonna have you go outside.
My user is the user of this system.
Yes.
Ansem the Wise.
Ansem?
That was a big achievement
I
for
want
you.
to relive that high.
I would like for you to go to the flower
Looks like
bed.
the MCP's onto us.
The flower bed where there's...
I'll keep this terminal up and running.
Yes.
You better exit the system now.
Sure, but Tron, Ansem is...
Precisely there.
Okay, we'll go there.
Okay, you're good to go. Hurry.
Okay.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, that's pretty okay. Fine.
You seem really disappointed in me that I want to do this.
No, I
want some modicum of control in my life.
I support your dreams. I hear him.
Don't let your dreams just be dreams. The wise man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do. And then the flower bed was this one, I remember.
Yes.
Whee! Woo! Secret tunnel! Secret tunnel. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was a Mario game that allowed you to do that?
Whoa.
If all of a sudden there's like, it's a random typical Mario game, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa! Complete secret. Yes, I'm in secret tunnel.
Yes.
So there's a computer code that we'll need to input at some point, and then there's a numerical code over here.
Yes.
Yes.
But for now, just run around over here.
Just run around?
Yeah, explore it.
That doesn't make sense, Ash.
I just explore the space, my guy.
It's like viewpoints. Say yes to the space.
Yes, walk along the grid.
Shove and rub my body.
Yes, along the grid.
Okay.
At a speed of whatever.
Okay. I'm commenting on the space right now. I'm shoving. I'm rubbing. I'm tapping. I'm looking for things. I'm gonna press all these buttons. 1, 4, 8. Did nothing.
It's great.
They were meaningless to me. Leap. Oh, is there something up there? Hold up. Nope, that is just a pipe. But could I potentially get on top of said pipe? Maybe. Will it matter in the slightest? Probably not. But I'm gonna try anyway. Does this pipe have a collision detection? It does, a little bit. Ooh. Light, but that's just lights.
Yes. Great.
Great.
I think.
Have I shoved and rubbed the appropriate amount of time?
Yes. Okay. I think you can depart now.
Do you actually know?
Yes, I do.
Excuse me?
I do know this, okay? So, because we lost our progress, the game changes things based on where you've been.
Okay.
So, you need to be in these spaces.
Okay.
So,
okay, I've been.
I'm just encouraging you to look and explore and maybe expand your mind a little bit.
My mind has already been expanded by this section.
So, you know, you can leave.
Okay, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I leave?
That's fine.
Great. Whoop. Did this happen the last
What's
time
this
that we
doodle?
I keep telling you these things.
He's not been home for.
Looks like a diagram or something.
Oh!
Huh.
D. T.
That felt new.
D.
Computer realm. It did not.
What's up?
The game.
Look at this.
Didn't do enough.
This must be the
rubber.
data space.
Clearly not.
The DTD.
Okay.
See?
So let's
the
try
door
going into
to
the
darkness.
vent again.
Into the back vent.
Yes.
What do you know?
Let's see.
But that still
it
leaves
is
the
It's very
password.
helpful to have you guys.
Say,
because
fellas,
the
did
amount
somebody
of,
mention the
trial and
door to
error
darkness?
that these sorts of games require?
And there they go. They'll be
Yes.
happy.
Your Majesty!
Okay. Whoop. Run.
Yep, get to that back door.
Should I talk to my bear friend again? Just want to remember what the code was.
Long time no see.
Triangle. Shh. Yep.
The organization might be listening.
Maybe it's the other way. Maybe the triangle's the other way. Oh, no, you fool. I thought I was still on the line. So I was still on
You mentioned the door to darkness?
Oh, yes, sir.
There we go.
You see, we're looking for the secret password.
Password?
Oh, this way. Go here.
Oh, I guess you mean like a code.
Leap.
Well, the door to darkness can only be opened by the 7 princesses. There's Snow White, Jasmine, and Belle.
Of course.
There you go. Okay, back to Fishland.
Let's see if this works. Otherwise, yeah. There you go.
What are you trying to do?
Woo!
With that password, we can get access to Ansem's research data.
And then you can get the shovel.
So that means you might be able to find out where he is.
The keys.
Stop joking around, Your Majesty. We already defeated Ansem.
Yeah,
You know that.
Watch the beepy boops.
Looks like
Okay, see, this is
I've
good.
got a lot of explaining to do.
There was no logic. Okay, well, good. I'm glad that I had you leading the way.
But first I've got a question.
I mean, I'm glad to have
Isn't
you leading
Tron
the way,
waiting
but
for
in
you
this
guys?
case, my knowledge of, this leads to this would have been
Don't
completely
worry,
different. Like, I
I'm
would
not going
never
anywhere.
thought
If those
that
Heartless
entering
attack,
into
I'll
random room
stand and
X
fight with everybody
will
here.
Fish go away and
Yeah,
mean why.
we will too.
Okay, I've got a shovel.
Then let's
I remember,
talk more later.
We discovered a bunch of gravestones at one point.
I'll see you when you get
Maybe you
back.
should check that out.
Oh wait, hold up. But also outside, there's this random area that's fenced in. This feels like a very diggable spot. Like these literally have diggy holes.
Diggy.
But apparently they're not diggy holes, or at least not yet. Maybe I have to shove and rub my body against 3 more vents and a couple tables before those become active.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell, Ash. Okay. So I've still got this little table puzzle here. Boop. Boop. It's a triangle. I'm determined to make the tables happen. Okay, tables aren't happening. Alright, other way. Just for the sake of posterity. Nope. All right. Cool. Where do you want me to go, Ash?
Find that grave. Find that grave.
That grave was
yep,
in...
I opened up this one chest. I just got the...
You're asking me to remember where those graves were. It was upstairs in the...
it was
upstairs in the forest level, right? And you went down the well.
Yes.
Before we got chased by a spooky duck.
Exactly.
It's on know where Stitch
and you'll have to do that maze portion again. It's gonna be so fun.
Maze again. Okay, here. It was up here, wasn't it? Catastrophe grow. Catastrophe grow.
I like the jingle that you've made for this game.
Right, it's a very catchy one. I don't know
that you've stuck to it as well.
I don't know where it's come from. Catastrophe grow. Ooh.
Oh, you
wait a
get
minute.
silver.
We got silvers. We didn't have silvers in this level before.
Right? See, I'm always thinking.
Yes, you are always thinking.
Getting you the silvers.
Should I get those silvers?
So we can get the gold.
Should I get the silvers?
Yeah, get the silvers.
What's a higher priority in life? Getting silvers or getting...
I mean gravestones, but like, you gotta get the silvers. You know? You're gonna feel so bad if you don't.
The reason you're guiding me through this game is because if left to my own devices, this would take me dozens upon dozens of hours.
Yeah, well,
and still yield me nothing.
If you get the silvers, you have less little guys to worry about. So I would, you know, get them for the sake of getting them, and then take up the gravestone, and that'll build up suspense. And then everyone will be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm on the edge of my seat right now."
When you say I have less little guys to worry about,
yeah.
What little guys are you referring to? The silvers?
No, the silvers aren't gold.
Oh, I didn't touch
yeah, there's
nothing.
little guys. They're down there.
Welcome to the game grid.
Game grid?
That's right. You've been chosen to play a few games. Lose and you will be subject to immediate de-resolution. Win?
I know.
Well,
there is.
This game is so robust.
No one wins. You have no choice.
Well then, get on with it.
That is shattered to pieces and ripped apart because it's all one elaborate ARG.
Yep, it's that kind of
so much going on.
Right.
Okay, let's collect the little guys. Nope. Boop. Oh my gosh. It's like a dark, sinister version of Banjo-Kazooie. Get the jiggies. I'm not seeing any silvers over there. Any silvers over here? Oh, there's a silver down below. I'm gonna grab that silver down below. Oh.
Little guys.
We got the spookies. Are these the spirits of the dead come to haunt me? Is that what I'm seeing here? Classic. doing their thing. Oh, there's a street. Oh, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. They're hard and fast. Get out of here! Weird goobers.
Weird goobers?
Yeah, weird goobers. I'm hopeful the silver count is 63 with a bonus 64. We shall see. Oh, tight.
All right! It looks like we can escape through there!
Unless there's just an egregious number in this one that doesn't match with that anything else there. Getting close. Designing like a mystery puzzle game or like a horror analog horror kind of like mystery bend ground-esque game. You have to design a game. And then you have to design like the on top of it. And you have to make it accessible enough that people can solve things, but not so obvious that it's satisfaction, right? It's a really tricky needle to thread. That's one of those things that I've been realizing. We did our we've done a bunch of ARGs on the channels and most aggressively.
Good job.
Thank you.
You did it.
With my newfound fingers, do you recommend me doing anything in particular?
No.
Pick up
Yeah, I think that for sure.
Oh, there it is. Excellent. You unlocked the plan.
Digging complete.
It's very simple. If only easy to accomplish. This also reminds me of the level of like sinister or kind of like darkness that exists in like the first time I went down the well in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Like, oh, this is just like the spooky ghost zombie level with all the hidden walls and stuff. All right. Roaming the hallways here. Oh, it is a maze.
Tron!
Oh, there are a lot of pathways in this. Oh, that would be called a dead end.
I don't understand. Why are you here?
We came to give you the password.
Why didn't you just transmit the data?
Transmit?
Maybe.
Hey, are you okay?
I'll be all right once we access the DTD.
Nope.
I mean, Crow should be honored that there's like a whole tomb labyrinth system underneath their grave.
Maybe it's the dead body that's been digging it out. The dead body's just like, I got places to go, man. I ain't got time. Oh, spooky ghost! Oh, there's a spooky ghost! I shouldn't go. I kind of feel like I have to go down that hallway. But at the same time, oh. Fell into the abyss. Should I enter Graveland again? I feel like that was not the correct conclusion of that sequence of events.
No.
Yeah. Because it's confusing.
Yeah, but I think you'll be curious to see what you'll find.
I did find a ghost.
Yeah, there was that. There's also other things.
Are there silvers?
I mean, it's the color silver. But it's not silvers.
It's like you're giving me a riddle.
Right?
What's the color? Ghost man, duck, ghost duck thing. I love that it's also just a stereotypical ghost. Like it feels very much like it's just a ghost in a sheet. Okay. I'm gonna shove and rub my body against the walls in the event that the middle of the floor is the thing that is non-existent. Okay. Oh, this is so confusing. Okay, here we go.
You will walk into a room. So I would be less concerned about trying to find secret walls right now.
Oh, I'm not worried about secret walls. I'm more worried about the floor not existing. That's the reason why I'm rubbing my body against here, is because I'm concerned that there will come a point that the floor... hello. The floor, right? He's also got something.
Clearly.
He too is like, I'm lost! But I'm concerned that there will come a point in time where the floor ceases to exist if I'm in the middle of the floor. He goes, he's like, I'm still lost. Yeah, oh, making any progress there, bud? Oh boy, this is a hefty maze. I hope.
Doing great.
You said I'm gonna be here for a while.
I'm trying to find a map to help you out, man.
I feel like I'm in a cycle of dead ends here, for sure. Or like I'm kind of in a second. Oh, ghost friend. Hey, ghost friend. Tell me your secret.
Okay, so I found the path. However, it spells out show me a map. I understand it's letters and all. It's letters.
Help.
That's you right now.
This is me. This
help.
This pause screen represents my mental state right now. Thank you very much. It's not creepy, it is accurate.
Okay, so I think that this maze is laid out. Yeah. There's a way to get and then we'll work our way back. Yeah. Alright, and then we're gonna need to do So, yep, forward.
Okay.
Yep, there's gonna be some curvature.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're curving around. We're curving around the G.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay, we've hit a wall.
Yep.
Continue.
Yes.
Okay, continue maneuvering. Okay, there's a lot of stuff.
Yep. Oh, we went too far in the G.
Okay.
We need to back out of the G.
Okay, well, here I am at this inflection point. I could go back. You are looking at a map.
Oh.
I need you, Ash.
The map is literally like Arial
I'm as good as
font.
new. All my functions have been restored.
Backwards, reverse.
Reverse.
Yes. Okay.
The mysterious G. Okay, yeah.
Finally,
Okay.
I have full access to the DTD.
Before the G is an L.
My takeover of the system is now
So you need to
complete.
ride the curve up the G.
I might have
and then ride that
anticipated such a
straight line
simple
to the
password.
R, which then crescendos, decrescendos,
What's
excuse
this?
me.
An emergency
Down to
destruct
W.
program for the town. Let's see
There's a
how it
lot of
performs.
letters. I know.
No.
Jeez. You had G's and R's and W's. I just so you know, I have no clue.
Program, you changed the
Would you like
password.
to see the image?
There,
Yeah,
that should buy
please.
us some time.
Here, get a look at
Tron,
this image.
tell us what's going on.
Right, whoop.
The MCP's loading a hostile program into the I.O. tower.
Yeah. What do we do? Right?
We've
Isn't that
got to
wild?
protect the user town.
Gosh, why would you make this so complicated? This is.
Let's head to the tower.
For those of you who you might be seeing it on screen right now, but for those of you just listening, it's this unbelievably long sequence of letters that you would think might spell something. And I'm sure that it's a cipher in some way. I have no doubt that this is a cipher in some way. But it's not like a short, cute cipher that's like, oh, I understand what's going on. It is godly long, like 20 string thing going on right now.
Yeah.
Insane.
VGCT LSK LGR WJ, but it kind of looks like OXHOXCS HNO, and then you get to the end.
The thing is, it is somewhat a straight line, insofar as there's not a lot of branching pathways, but there are because each letter kind of doubles up into every other letter.
Right.
And so, on one hand, and I can't find like the stupid invisible, and also apparently there's an invisible floor for some reason. So, at this point, I have no idea where I am, but there's also no opportunities for me to like really. There's no opportunities for me to really fall out of the map and reset this thing once I'm in it. Like here,
oh, you can't really
okay. So here, let's figure out what letter this is.
Sailor, which is
right.
Similar.
So this feels like a K. There's a dead end. There's a dead end, or maybe like an X or something.
Yeah. So you have to get to the top to make your way to the L.
This is brutal. And again,
Someone else is in the dock. Who are you? Am I anonymous?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm getting some really strong shipwreck vibes. Oh, great, they concocted their own language. Kudos to them, that's awesome. But the fact that I had to go through a maze comprised of a bunch of letters to get there, not super fun. Okay, so, yes, okay, so there's Crow language,
Yep.
and it translates to what?
But now you have died twice.
Is what it says?
Yes.
Or is that a reference to me?
Both.
Okay.
It's very meta.
But now you have died twice.
But now you have died twice.
Okay, so we know that our character has died at this point. Okay. Should I go down the well? At this point, or no?
I think head on down there. Let's redo that.
Okay, we'll head on down the well. Which I believe is over this way. If I remember this map. I do, okay. Whee! Down we go! Excellent. Okay, back into the Well of Shame. I call it the Well of Shame just because I have no better name for it. I think it was right, left, if I remember right. I don't. This is the door that's locked.
Yeah!
Eventually characters will come and start attacking us. First we gotta do the...
Okay!
Yes, here. Nope, don't you dare. Don't you dare fall into that blood water. Don't you dare fall into that blood water. It is not refreshing in the slightest. That fruit punch at the bottom there, you do not want that fruit punch. That's not okay. All right, drain. Drain the swamp, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're doing right now. We're draining, except it's draining the well. Delicious, okay. Savor the flavor. Okay, here we go. Fruit monster. So that's the way to the door that I need. I believe. That's somewhere over here, isn't it? Where's that switch? 1, 2 switch.
1, 2 switch.
I'm disappointed in you, program. Why do you insist on allying with these selfish users?
I have so many questions about 1, 2
Because
switch.
I want to help them.
You and everyone
Something
else.
written into my code commands me to do what is right.
I recently found the advertisements and the branding and commercials and
I
whatever
can't
around
really
it because
say
they
for
added
sure.
it to the voucher program for Nintendo.
Friends,
and
they
it very
help
much
each other,
feels like,
that's all.
hey guys, this is your new Wii Sports.
Oh, look out!
Check it out, check it out. And then,
Oh yeah.
so, I don't.
You know, this is a marginal thing department that look well, as you do.
Yeah, for sure.
Been here, done that, old hat. Easy peasy. Should I cross this bridge and all that?
Yeah, I think go for it. After this, I'll get back
Hey, you have a formula that works for sports. Let's not use that. Let's try Okay, so that's a maze of death.
Yep. Yeah, let's head there first. Let's wrap up the. Let's tie those loose threads, loose ties. They're untied.
Seamless.
Yeah, thank you.
That transition was great. Okay, here we go. Back to the first floor. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, here we are.
All right, so. Yep. Nope. 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 Go back. Go back. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Nope. Yep.
I really owe you one. With all my functions up and running, I think I've got a chance of getting system control away from the MCP. Now, I'd better get to work.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
It's what my
Good.
user would want.
Good.
What Ansem would want.
Great. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Listen, Tron.
Next.
We didn't get the password from Ansem. We just sort of found it back in the user world by accident.
Yes.
And one more thing, Ansem, he was our enemy.
Oh yeah. If I just
mean,
wait
he
here
still
for a
is.
series of minutes.
I guess.
Good.
Well,
Next
actually,
Great.
he's my enemy too.
What do you mean?
How would you know?
Ansem took Encom's original system and customized it for his own use.
It's cool. It's a very
I was part of the
cool,
original
very
system,
clever puzzle.
and Ansem modified me too.
How would
So
you
that
ever?
makes him my user.
There it is. At least now they.
But Ansem is also the one who brought back the MCP. The Ansem I first knew wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Should I do this last one?
I'm sorry I didn't tell you.
I think you should.
That's okay, but now I really don't get it.
I don't understand it either. But I think users like you are going to be the ones who will finally figure it out.
Some keyboards to dismiss.
You have the ability to take illogical routes and still arrive at the answers you
Don't you hate
seek.
it when your table just sinks you underwater?
Now go, before the
Yes.
MCP starts acting up again.
All right. Grandpa, are you here too? Oh, there's my table. A lot of water imagery. I'm assuming one of our characters died in a car crash or something that ended up in the water. Or maybe they were killed and then the car was put underwater to dispose of the evidence. I don't know. Oh, hey! Shipwreck 64! Unexpected collab.
It's all coming together.
What a small universe of obtuse ARG games we have here. All right, there's another boat. Good old shipwreck. Just gonna continue on this way over here. Hey, ships. Hello. Can you imagine if I was trying to solve this myself?
Yeah.
I'm glad that you and the internet are here to help out.
Of course.
Oh, don't you dare. Oh, don't you. What are you doing? Don't you. Oh, don't you hop on that shit, man. You complete this jump. There you go. We're not losing. We're not starting this again. Right, the fact that the internet was somehow able to solve this in what
Any data you need from the DTD can be accessed directly through my user's terminal.
Very impressive.
I'll keep a dedicated access channel open for you.
The collective hive
I changed the password, so you won't have to worry about the MCP for a while.
Access channel?
I knew you'd ask. It's a very important link between our worlds. It's how we stay connected. You, my friends, are the new password.
Watch this be like another complicated letter maze.
Thanks, Tron. Take care.
You too. And give my best to the users.
The thing I love about these sorts of game experiences is the amount of satisfaction that comes when you do find a secret or you do get a solution is huge, right? Like, it's unparalleled because it's like, oh, this was so complicated and vague and obtuse that I can't believe that I was able to outsmart it. That's fantastic. That being said,
well, that's that.
It's also
look,
like unbelievably difficult. It's
Tron,
funny because it's
hang in there.
Its own version of a multiplayer game.
So, where do we start?
I know. Let's access the DTD.
Solve all this themselves in any sort of reasonable amount of time. But when you have
the King's checking the situation in town. He'll be back soon, so don't worry. Hey, look. It's asking for a password.
That's easy. It's
a map.
Sora.
Map. There be a treasure map. Oh.
Goofy.
That's
a joy
to the point.
Well,
that
I
did
didn't
it.
know that Catastrophe Crow
We're in.
German? Get out of here.
I have to go into town.
Yes, it is.
Need to see what that
language.
last shakeup
Would
did.
you like to know the translation?
You're not going to check out the data? It wasn't exactly
Every
easy to
year
get.
You drowned.
I'm coming right back.
Year.
Hey, Sora. Why don't you get started unloading the data and copying it down? It's just a few keystrokes. Easy, right?
Back outside those bounds, chat.
Computer.
Woo!
Yeah, we are.
Even though they were in one, they don't exactly
Let's
know
get into those
how to
bounds.
access.
Let's hear it for the bounds.
Woo!
All right, so we've unlocked that guy. So cool. That's a fun. Is there an end? Like, is there an ending to this?
Hey,
as you
these
go
things
around,
take
some
time,
things will
okay?
Get corrupted, and then there will just be like so much lore
Oh, so much lore.
that is just thrown at you.
What would you like me to tackle next, Dad?
It's doing something.
So there's a couple things that you
I think it wants to know
you
what we
could
want to
fail
know.
at jumping
Riku and Kairi.
on those big that big arch outside.
I'm very good at failing at jumping.
Yeah,
No
so you
way.
could do that.
Okay.
You could collect
Even
the 64
Ansem's computer
other
doesn't
coins,
know.
and head back to the well.
In what, the forest area?
Not the
Well, I
forest.
thought
you just
I'd
got
ask the
forest in that
computer
weird
if it
play
can
area.
tell us about them nobodies.
The playground
Yeah.
area? Here, let's do the archway.
Okay.
I'm curious about this archway. When you say you can fail at the archway, I'm intrigued by that.
What's this?
So I can fail to jump this.
is correct.
What if I succeed?
How about
yeah,
the
you can try that too.
organization?
Here, I'm gonna try succeeding.
There.
Well, I did it. Because
The data is correct.
pro strat.
Stupid computer.
Here, I failed.
Sora!
Cool.
Who's this guy?
Good story.
Yep.
Well,
awesome.
I see you got things working.
Love it.
I'm
Your Majesty.
Also, I've collected all these keys and things. They have any
Good going. The computer should tell us the things
also
we
have
need
now
to
you
know.
died twice. Should I be putting that
But it
into
keeps
the
on
screen down
saying the
there?
data inside's all kerscuffled.
Not yet.
All we got is a picture of some guy we don't know.
Maybe eventually, one day.
Yeah. in time.
Ansem the Wise.
In all due course. I know we also unlocked
Come on,
the
are
news
you
on the second
teasing us
floor.
again?
Of course I do, and this is him. I'm positive.
Oh.
Excuse me, could you come this way, please?
Very basic enemy design. That would be great if you could do that. That'd be wonderful. Oop, oop. Okay.
Look, this is Ansem. You know, the guy we all worked really hard to defeat.
Oh, that's right. I never finished explaining.
Oh, look at them castling each other. It's great. Okay, let's do this.
Well, the man in the picture is definitely the one who tried to take over Kingdom Hearts.
And one of my
the one
very
you
close
fellas
and good friends
defeated.
is in
But
the process
what
of
you
teaching
actually
me.
thought was his
I think he's
heartless.
going to a chess
You see,
tournament
he wasn't
next
really
week.
handsome. He
So-
just went around telling everybody that he was.
Oh, he is all in. His dream job is to be a designer on the chess.com website.
Really?
You mean?
Yes. Does the game of chess have a pretty strong website presence?
What? I mean, it sparks joy for him.
We went through all that trouble to defeat an imposter?
Yup, a fake. But he still had to be stopped.
Pretty banger site.
Yeah, I mean, there sure is chess on here.
Oh, I'm kind of confused. If he's a
He came for
fake,
what was
then
advertised.
what happened to the real Ansem?
I love a site that.
Well, that's
is not
just what I'm trying to
He
figure
delivers on
out.
the promise.
Right? He dreams of elevating his
Ansem the
website.
Wise should know
Really?
all
It
about
keeps up.
Organization
Plans.
13's plans
He does.
and what's been happening to the world.
If you're affiliated with chess.com,
I'm pretty sure
reach
he'll
out
give
to
us some
me.
help.
Do I have the guy for you?
You
I don't
know,
He
I
might
came
be-
close
he
to
might be too
finding him
progressive,
once.
Moving and shaking a bit too much, you know.
Well,
The game of chess.
Don't tell me there's more.
It's been going.
I'm
pretty
lost
strong
enough
for
as
a
it
while
is.
Yeah, no, it has. I think he just wants to
Well, let's
help,
see.
like,
Some
he
feller
really wants
named
to
Ansem, who
polish
wasn't
the
really
website
Ansem,
in a way
became a
that sparks
heartless.
joy
Does
and
that
makes it
mean
more
nobody
accessible
got
to people?
created when that happened too?
So, I don't know. He's brought this up to me like
And that
7
nobody
times
is the
in
leader
past
of the
month about
organization.
How badly he wants this.
What?
I know I've met this
Yeah,
fake Ansem
so we're
before,
gonna
and I've seen the
manifest
leader of Organization 13 too. Kind of felt like being around the same fella.
So, where did you meet this
There was one
guy?
I missed on my way up. I'm well aware. Of
Gosh,
Oh,
I can't
I've
remember.
told you about chess too, have I not?
Ansem the Wise,
Chess 2,
the
sequel
real
to chess.
Ansem, must know the imposter's true identity.
Amazing. Here, real
That's
quick,
why
I
I've got
collected
to
20
find
I
him and
collected 64.
ask him about
Great.
it.
Should I shove and rub against this guy?
No.
You
can
started
leave.
all of
Oh, I
this.
can leave?
Well,
No shoving and rubbing
Because of
against
you,
if you want to go
Riku
back
and
down to
Kairi.
that area that we found
Oh.
first,
Your Majesty,
like,
do you know where Riku is?
Oh, the area that we found first?
Yeah.
This one over here?
Yeah. He's-
Where we grab on and just kind of shimmy shake?
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
just to be there, and
I
so the game
can't
is like,
help.
whoa, okay, heard.
All right. No, tell me about the sequel to Chess 2.
Okay, it's one of my favorite images on the internet.
Really, Your
along with
Majesty?
Sliced meme.
Are you
but
sure?
I'm
Chess
sorry,
2,
Sora.
double bishop, new pawn, right?
What about
Double
Kairi?
bishop.
There's the double bishop.
Organization
He wears 2
13 might have
bishop hats.
kidnapped her.
I mean, that's pretty.
Oh no!
And the most exciting addition, pawn with a gun.
Whoa!
Sora, Donald,
What's his
Goofy.
ability?
I was planning to go get help from Ansem the Wise, but
The game of
now
pawn and
I
gun.
know
Yeah.
I forgot the
So
most
that's chess
important
2.
thing.
Okay.
Love
Helping
it.
others should always
Fantastic.
come
Is it available
before
for
asking
download
others
right
for
now?
help.
I actually don't know.
We're safe and sound
I only
and
know
free
it
to
in the
choose.
meme context.
So there's no
But I'm
reason we
sure
shouldn't
that it
choose to help our
exists, or that
friends.
someone's modded chess to do
Let's
this.
look for Riku and Kairi together.
Outside!
Sounds like we gotta start by helping out here.
That's incredible. To be fair, the idea that no one has thought of making a sequel to Chess feels like a huge missed opportunity.
There's Chess 2, the sequel on Steam,
Is there?
but I don't know if this contains pawn with a gun.
I think it would have, right? I mean, you would hope so. That's what I would expect out of my Chess 2 experience, you know?
Right? It's what you'd want. It's what I'd want.
It's what the people want. Not just you. Not just me. It's what the people. It's what the public want. Nay, it's what the public demands. Let's be honest.
Let's see. What if I look up gun in the Steam reviews? No, there's no sign of this.
It needs more gun.
Yeah. Where is my double bishop?
Unacceptable.
Right?
I'm sorry to hear that Chess 2 on Steam is not meeting your demands.
No, it's not.
Yes, we can do that game.
Can we make Chess 2 with pawn with a gun?
And then we fill it with lore.
Whoa!
Right?
Why are the kingdoms We're finally gonna find out.
Hear me,
after
my
years.
heartless. Attack
out
the
next
white
time
husks.
on Dragon
Sweep
Ball
them away.
What are you, nuts? We're never gonna win. I don't know about you, but I'm out of here, sister.
You pathetic coward.
We're gonna find out.
Epic conclusion. Next time.
And maybe in chess 3, we start a treaty agreement.
Whoa.
And then it falls apart.
Heartless. Leave the white ones. Turn your attention to Sora and his friends.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so I've collected 64.
Yep.
I've gone into like the medical bed zone.
Yep. Head back to that well.
Head back to the well.
Well.
Which well? There's a lot of wells.
The secret well.
Right, because so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yup.
Whee!
Great. You're just trolling me sometimes, aren't you?
No.
Sure.
I'm so serious.
Where's Maleficent?
Looks like she ran away.
Well, that was pretty lame of her.
Yes.
I guess we picked the wrong side.
Please work. Please work. You did it. You got the thing.
So close to this world.
You're right.
What were the things that I needed to get?
Like all of the coins, all the silvers.
She'd be okay to check. What are the goblins?
So if you stand on the
wings or something, right?
Hey, if you're looking to pick sides, why don't you pick Leon's? They can always use help.
Okay.
Does this Leon have any treasure?
Not happening.
Well, there's a way that where if you have the coins, you could throw a little coin in there.
Really?
Who are you?
Oh, we're nothing worth mentioning.
Just
Very
3
cute.
treasure fanatics.
Really?
Later,
A game
taters!
of horrific murder surprises.
Yeah.
You have a cute moment. Get out of here.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Did Leon really have any
For
treasure?
redemption last time, because we are starting to run up on time.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Do you want to attempt that maze one more time?
The spooky crow maze?
Yeah.
Okay, spooky crow maze. The one that traumatized me beyond belief last time.
Exactly.
Gave me one of the biggest jump scares I have ever had.
We don't
in
have
my
time
life.
for you.
Activate. Fever. Now comes the spooky guy.
There's going to be a boat at the end, and your goal is get to the boat.
Get to the boat. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, here comes creepy crow. Scary crow alert.
Sora and Sephiroth!
Ain't Sephiroth the one who's supposed to be the dark part of Cloud's heart?
He's super scary.
I think that you'll
Did
appreciate
Cloud
the fact
tell
that
you
his
that?
name, according to this document.
Then he must understand
Do you
now.
want to guess?
Just what are you gonna do to him?
Is it-
Nothing.
If
Cloud
this
is the one who hungers for
Creepy Crow and
darkness.
there's creepy crow.
He said he's got a
Is his
score
name
to settle with you.
Crow?
No.
I see.
That's very clever, but no.
He wants to meet me again.
I think you've called him this before, actually.
Well, Slenderman.
Then I should
Nope.
give him what he wants.
Nope.
Oh, what is it?
That
Big
last
boy.
bit of light is always the
Big
hardest
boy. Oh, my
to
big
snuff
boy.
out.
Big boy crow.
Big boy.
Oh, he is big boy. Do I have to fall
No, I look for the polygons. I mean the circles.
down? No, I know, but like that hole in the middle there? Because I feel like I've been wandering in circles here. I feel like there's either a secret wall that I gotta jump through or activate a painting in some way or fall down this hole.
I will say there are some cabinets which you might be able to
interact with.
Yes.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm gonna go down this hole. I just wanna go down this hole sometimes. Because here are more graves.
Okay, so being down here, this actually might give you some context as to everything that's happened.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming that this is a code, right? This is some sort of strange, maybe Morse code or date or something? Are these dates?
So, these have dates on them. You are correct.
Great. I feel validated.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the dates?
So we have. Oh, there's a good bit.
Okay.
So one of these has 3 dates on them.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
each of these represents a date?
Yes. Each of the clusters is a date.
Wow.
One of them, the one with 3, says September 13th, 1956.
Does it now?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. Duh.
December 5th, 2001.
Okay. Whoa.
And December 5th, 2020. Or it just says, I guess, December 5th, 20.
Do you know, like, is this a specific type of code? Like, does it say what if this is a specific type
This
of code?
is the dot cipher.
Oh, it's a dot cipher, really?
Yes.
Huh. Fascinating. Well, there you go. And so all of them have some sort of dot cipher date on it?
Yes, so one has 3.
We'll help.
Another one has 2 dates on
Sora,
it.
behind you!
We read a letter from one of these, and you've actually encountered the one with 2. Not to my understanding. I like how you spoon-feed the words.
So you know. Let go. Let go.
Lego.
For the sake of expediency, not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
As long as you're happy with it.
I'll allow it.
The king's in the Bailey. You better head over there.
Got it.
So someone died. Someone. Oh, hello. Plus, I'm only really registering only about half of what you say because I'm trying to focus on the game as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I can understand that.
Hello. Hello, big boy. Goodbye, big boy.
Bye.
Bye. So the fact that there's like just a dead-end maze here is suspicious and
Whoa.
is right. Because it feels like there should be something. Yeah, I know. I'm so glitchy. Brr, I've got feelings and emotions, and I'm some evil, dead, angry spirit character.
What's that polygons? And I saw circles, and I was like, well, I don't know about that. But
Oh, hello, there's a boat! I found a boat! So I should approach that boat?
yeah, hop on that boat.
Am I gonna involve myself in a shipwreck?
Whoa.
And potentially drown? Multiple times. Apparently I drown yearly. That's a yearly event in my life. Hello. Bye.
And
see you later.
These little birds seem to dive not into the
I'm sailing away. Set an open course for our office building.
No, it is. And all the
Okay. We're back on the first floor. Let's try this well.
Think you can handle this many?
Well, might be tough if one more shows up.
Got a whole heck of a lot.
Then that'll have to be the one I take care of.
Found the boat. I'm
You're
on a
fighting
boat.
too?
Okay. What? I don't even know. Okay.
Ash is reading the walkthrough.
What?
And even
What?
Ash doesn't understand. That's a great sign. That sounds really good for us.
Okay, so it says boat sends player to first floor.
Yes.
Replaces
Sephiroth!
desk with boat.
Yes, it did do that.
Following the pattern of the king piece
Yes. Chess game.
and counting the number of vertices,
I understand
not
that
sides,
you've been looking for
Yes,
me.
vertices are the corners.
Yeah.
of the
Once I get rid of you, the darkness will go away.
Of the polygons?
Can
what,
you
in
do it?
maze or in the...
That darkness
Unclear, my
comes
guy.
from
It
your
sounds like
own
this is
dark
after the
memories.
fact. So,
Do you think you can erase your
Okay,
past?
number of vertices.
yep.
Shut up!
Face
Yeah.
it,
It should
You turn
read
your
out
back on the present and
another
live in the past. Because the light of the present is too much.
You don't know me!
Cloud!
So wait, okay, you want me to...
and this is why...
Okay, here's the key.
I know.
I wanted you to get to the
Because
well first, but if you couldn't
I
get the
am
coin
you.
in the well...
Okay, so here's the king piece. I'm gonna follow his vertices and his path.
So, my rationale here, right? Why I wanted you to do the well first.
Yeah.
It seems like these codes are connected. Like, what you get from that connects to what you get here.
Okay.
So, I don't understand why.
Leon,
so...
everybody, hang in there.
I don't know, we collected all the coins. You should have been able to put something in the well.
Coins in the well.
And then get something. And then, through this, after finishing the base, you get the other part of that message.
Okay, fellas, you've got to
The
go
whole
find
message
Riku
will
and
come
Kairi.
together. It's all in
But
code
Leon
language,
and
so
the
you have
others
to
are friends
decipher
too.
it.
Sure.
But-
Don't worry, there's already lots of help here. We'll take care of this
now
fight.
that you've told me that
But
whole grave
I promised
maze was
Leon.
a series of letters,
Donald,
this little
Goofy,
bears
take
at
Sora and
computer
get
thing
going.
Feels like it's spelling out something else. And we gotta
Riku,
track, like,
Kairi, give me a
number
little
of
time,
vertices-
okay?
The number of vertices of the bears as they're... Ooh, hello. There's a back to this.
We understand. We'll go search for Riku and Kairi.
Right. Watch for danger.
Right Didn't accomplish anything for me, because God
Wait,
forbid
you
I
guys.
was able to do anything myself without
So-
help in this game. Yes.
Pushing the blank block into a lane
Sora,
secret entrance.
go as you
8 by 8
go.
grid.
You're coming with us whether you
You
want
just
to
can show
or
a list
not.
of emails, which hints
Come
to
on,
players
Sora.
conversing
You gotta be
with
good.
insert name of person that, or bird. Conversing with
Gotcha.
blank's email, essentially.
Well, then
I don't know how much to
skedaddle.
tell you at this point, man. How much do I seed out to you? Because
Let's
I don't
go.
know. This is so... Everything is so deeply embedded
Whoa.
within this game
Yeah.
that
It's very deep.
I don't know how much you will intuit in the
I'm
next,
sorry, Your Majesty.
like 5 minutes.
Hope you can forgive us.
Great. I'm glad that we have 5 minutes left to solve this game. We're in the final 5, my guy. Is there anything that I can put into the computer? Or is there a big final, like, or like a cool thing that we can just kind of put together here in this moment?
Yeah, let me see if I can find you.
Because also, I have found...
Ooh.
I found this key. That key hasn't led to anything yet, really particular. Like I haven't used it. I used the shovel. What? You said ooh.
Okay.
So I'm gonna follow
So
along.
if you go to the computer room,
Yes, love the computer room. Feel good about that one.
the smaller computers do give you a code when paused. Each time you pause, a new letter pops up. The letters do loop back after a set amount of them, and then it gives you this code, which I can tell you.
Wait, if I go into the small computer room?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go in the small computer room.
Okay.
Here's the teeny computer room.
Why don't you first?
I do have 17. Here's an interest. I do have 17 silvers.
What?
Which is not the 64 that I've collected in either of the 2 levels, but I have 17 at least. Just throwing that out there.
That's so unfair. And that's
Oh wait,
against-
hold on. Oh, that's cool. 0, 1, 0. S. 0, 1, 0. S. Okay, S. T. E. K. L. Steckle. W. This is cool. This is a cool puzzle. The idea of like the pause menu showing you something else. W X Q O K. Because this is not something that you would just assume works. A W A W A W. Okay. And H T Z A U E W K C R. And then just one really long one at the end. So, okay. Fill me in.
Go on this number pad.
Yes.
Do 3, 3, 2.
3.
Don't ask me where those numbers came from. I could not tell you.
Great. What about the letters that we just did? Did those go to the big computer over there?
So those are Crow language.
Okay.
And it translates.
Master Ansem, regarding the experiment I presented the other day, with your permission, I'd like to proceed.
I forbid it! Forget this talk of doors and the heart of all worlds. That place must not be defiled.
But Master Ansem, I've been thinking.
Xehanort.
Everyone was giving
those thoughts are best
a hard time for coming out with merch as soon as their game came out. This game never came out. And, that's an ominous sounding laser fence right there. Let me tell you. Oh, these are dead guys. Oh, little dead crows. Hey, hey guys. Oh no, and they're being controlled by the teddy. There's definitely a war going on between the teddy bears and the critters. Just calling it out. Very clear battle.
It has been far too long.
Oh, the bears are becoming crows.
Friend.
Maybe after they die. Whoa.
A teddy bear becomes a crow once they have passed the realm of death. Oh, smooshed. Smooshed. Okay. So bears become crows when they die. That's good to know.
Zexion!
We've got the
Zexion!
factory. That's cool.
Right here. What is it? Where is Lord Xemnas?
Let's check this out.
His usual spot?
Activate.
The Chamber of Repose?
When in doubt,
Yes.
rub.
Go and see for yourself.
Damn it, elevator.
That isn't funny.
Why would you do this to me? Why would you
I
betray
suppose I have
yourself?
no choice but to wait.
No.
But the clock is ticking. Time is running out. What to do? Why is he never around
Well,
when I
look at
need
this. We
him?
got a little platform.
It's almost as if he
Is
knows.
this a real video game? We've got ourselves a platforming challenge, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, I don't like that place either.
Let's do that.
What about you, Zexion?
Okay.
What do you think?
There you go.
Wait for the bear.
I think eavesdropping is intrusive. Why are you even here?
Oh, jeez.
You and Zaldin were tasked to recruit new members. Have you forgotten, or were you procrastinating?
As if. I'm doing my job.
Yes.
I'll have you know,
Fire that
I
switch.
found one just
That's gonna activate
yesterday.
that elevator.
Mar
Find
something.
games.
That puts
And
the
then
organization's
someone
count
knows
at 11.
Just a little teasy
And since
bit.
I've been working so
There
hard,
it
I had
is.
Lexius take my place for the day. I want to rest up for
Very
tomorrow,
nice.
so I can wake up feeling nice and refreshed.
Is that so? Well then, I will leave you to it. I have work to catch up on. Good day.
Here. Watch the bears as they get crushed by the machine of capitalism. That's fine.
Oh, don't be like that.
Symbolism, par for the course.
Come on, stay and talk.
Go. Activate elevator.
Isn't it time you told
Woo.
me about Xemnas'
Raise
secret?
me up so I can unlock a door.
How long ago was it?
What do we got going on?
When a bunch of warriors wielding
more crows up here.
key-shaped
Hello.
swords appeared and unleashed a spectacular battle.
What are you?
And when it was all over,
Big bag of meat.
all that was
It's like a
left was a
date.
man lying unconscious
It is
without his
definitely
memories.
the heart is
Xemnas.
beating inside of a dead crow. Is what that is.
I mean, Xehanort
That's
was
like
found
the
by
remnants. You
Ansem
can
right
see the
around
wings
then, wasn't he?
And the tail.
Your
Still in
point?
remnant form.
The Chamber of
Yep, I said
Repose.
Wow. You're
If
so
you
brave.
recall, that's where we spent our time
So they're
researching
still
the
in
darkness that
remnant.
resides within people's hearts. It's a graveyard that was sealed by order of Ansem the Wise.
Okay, so it's
The first thing Xemnas did once he got rid of him was to undo the seal and build a room in the back.
Huh.
Ever since then, he holds himself up in that room when he can and he talks to
That
someone.
would be a bummer.
But who?
But I bet I do.
For all I know, he's the only one in that room.
Assume nothing. Nope.
Need I repeat myself about eavesdropping?
Not eavesdropping. Couldn't hear what they were saying. Dying to find out what it was, though. You wouldn't know anything about it, would you?
I know I would very much like to focus on my own
family
duties. As you should with yours.
died,
For we need
kids
to
who have
prepare the
died
new
and are
facility
being, like,
immediately.
reborn
But there are
or
only
drowned
11 of us in the
or whatever. Are we in a
organization.
Is that
We're
what
going to
seeing
need a
here?
few
Are we in
more hands on
cycle of
deck.
trauma where
What new facility?
My child has died, so I'm recreating.
Oh,
them in
you
the
mean
form
Castle
of
Oblivion.
A digitized consciousness. or
What does
something
Xemnas plan
that
on
allows
doing
them
with
to
that
live
place
on.
anyway?
And then, oh whoopsie, fate.
He already
that they
shared
die
his
every
intentions with us.
kind of
But
thing.
did you know
So
there's something he
my
didn't
unholy
share?
Creation, trying to thwart fate and death, is failing because destiny.
The
has
Chamber of
determined that you
Repose
cannot
is part of a pair.
and will die and drown.
The
every
Chamber
year.
of Waking is the other.
Wow, it's pretty
Another
elaborate.
graveyard, if you want to call it
I'm
that.
just trying to put the pieces
It was
together
constructed by
based
someone
on
other
what
than Xemnas
nebulous
himself.
Information I have to work
And
with
that's
right
where
now.
he'll find it.
How'd I do?
That's where he'll find his
Pretty
other
solid.
friend.
Not even close.
Oh, you know, I can't give everything.
Okay, so
there's some
gotta
good
figure out how
people
we're gonna get through
organization
this.
and some, and the ones that just seem.
Because this, I don't think I have enough time to find. Oh, can I go over it? Yeah, let's go over the top. That's the one. That's the safe.
Yeah, the
Ooh, and
organization
there-
I
oh.
believe is what God looks at the collections and try to.
Hold up, we'll get to that part of the process.
Hey, you guys are looking lively.
Now they're glitching.
Didn't we catch you messing around in the underworld?
Bro, sure.
How'd a wimp like you get into Organization 13? I bet you can't even fight.
You shouldn't judge anyone by appearance.
The core narrative beats of this plot. I just need to be able to put them all together in this one conveyor belt.
I told them they were sending the wrong guy.
Who is this kook? Remember, the organization's made up of nobodies.
Right. No hearts.
Oh, we do too have hearts. Don't be mad.
Oh, back to the beginning. Activate.
Silence, traitor.
We're setting them down in front of a TV.
They're about to watch what's going down to them.
They are gonna. I do not have time for this argument for the kids. We are gonna sit down for Cocomelon for the next 10 hours.
Amazing.
Dance, water, dance!
Let's see.
Fire! 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 Fire!
The key in your inventory.
Fire! Got you now!
Because you got the key.
I have the key.
It would be very useful here.
Would it?
Yeah.
Just
Oh, no,
one.
okay.
Just.
Can I
one
fire
more
the switch?
defeated, and that this guy's a pain in the boot.
Yes.
Okay. Whoa! Turn my world upside down. Oh.
Dance, water, dance!
Space station grow!
Be free.
Glad we were able to accomplish that. Hey Ash,
Yo.
I'm gonna climb to the top of this tower.
Heal!
What?
Got you now!
So, do you want to just fill us in a little bit about what we should do at this point? Because I'm curious. Because I thought we would be able to kind of like breeze our way through this. But
Dance,
even in
water,
solving
dance!
the puzzles, it has taken a bit of time.
It sure has. That.
Fire!
I got to this
computer.
Got you now!
Characters here who created the characters in this franchise. Manfred is a big one. We saw his tombstone. It had 3 dates on it. There's Nils, who's his son.
Because I did a long time ago. Like
Dance, water, dance!
It also has a secret code that's.
Yes.
Oh,
alive.
Give me strength! Yeah!
There's a couple theories
Back off!
And what her deal
Yeah!
is.
Yeah! It's over!
You guys saw in the base.
Yeah!
Neither.
Yeah!
Got
you now!
That we're flying left and right.
Oh, those the sheep ghosts.
Potentially.
Okay.
Perhaps. So, we are trying to figure out what exactly is the story behind the
Dance, water, dance!
all this death and dying. And that's part of why this game is so
feels like
Light! Take this!
making the subtext.
Take this!
So, it's like
This is it!
Manfred's family, where you had Thea,
It's over!
and then
It's over!
no. So, like kids.
Fire!
A lot of
Yeah, yeah,
that's
got
what
you
you're
now!
theorizing this for, and now you know, so that you don't have to learn Crow language or various dot ciphers.
What other so when it comes to the game
Dance,
stuff,
water, dance!
like what other
Oh, there's a lot.
It seems like we've made a lot of progress, but it
Oh!
So there's a nice version interacting with ways to unlock. Between these two have
Got you now!
Yeah, the still
in the
middle
back
fingers
or the
for
bottom.
this instrumental die.
Wait, the back or the bottom? Wait.
Yes, of the crow.
Okay, well I'm gonna fire the switch.
Okay.
Okay.
Dance, water, dance!
I have to keep my inventory, so it exists.
They're saying if you have the key, some way, shape, or form, we will stand up and tell you what they
Tell me a thing!
Fire! Yeah! Fire!
First time in my life.
What does it say?
Got you now!
On first try.
Maybe
very
that's
close
the moral
for
of today's
just one
story,
line
that
to
shoving
be
and rubbing
defeated.
can only get you so far in life, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, I feel like this is where we kind of have to wrap Catastrophe Crow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff, but there's no like
Dance, water,
climactic
dance!
thing that we're working to, right? Like there's no, hey, you can beat the game. Right? There's not a, did it. It's just a bunch of. The premise of this game is that, right? And that's what it is.
Fire! That very much implied. It was so I would
Fire! It's available, right? Like it is here. It is Opus Legacy, Itch.io, play Catastrophe Crow. Do it. I mean, very clearly there's a lot of work that has been put into this. Very clearly it
is with great satisfaction that I am proud to announce that I have in fact fallen off. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that I always like to remain clear is I work outside of YouTube. Like, I have a job and everything. I'm going to sound like Andrew Tate here. Hey, boy, I live outside the Matrix. But the reality of it is, YouTube is such a fickle thing that if you tried to make this your job, you would actually go insane. You know wonder why so many YouTubers get caught doing the craziest shit imaginable? Just being total degenerate idiots? It's because they have mentally chained themselves to a platform that literally ranks everything you do day by day. Oh boy, my video hit 1 out of 10. Better do that line of code. Oh, the video's doing 10 out of 10. Well, boys, it's over. Better start up and crack on the streets. And it's one of the reasons why I like to stay outside the Matrix. I like my hobby being my hobby at the end of the day, because anything you turn into a job just becomes one of the worst things imaginable, especially social media. Now, I love reading comments on my YouTube page. The best part about uploading a YouTube video is not like anything else but the comment section, okay? You know, the amount of people that are in that comment section talking to you, crapping on you. You know how many times I like to read, "Oh, Muda, you punchy fat Indian idiot." Okay, don't be writing that. Actually, I think you might get tricked by YouTube's AI. It might actually flag your account for harassment. But the point is, I love reading the comments. I enjoy reading things. I like reading the good. Half the point of uploading a video, okay, is just actually reading the comments and stuff. You know when I upload a Linux video, you know what I'll look? I'll let you know the Windows refugees in my comment section try to fight about stuff. But for the last 3 months, I have encountered a new trend. Not a new trend, something that has been going on for months now. And it's been something that's been in my mind so much because I do the comments that I wanted to actually go to the origin point. Now, you might actually go onto a any YouTube video, by the way, and you'll probably notice the "no views, bro fell off" comments, okay? Now, at first I thought this was hilarious, but then it got to the point that it became the most liked comment in the actual thing. Now, this is a deep web video I uploaded. I found a disturbing cult website on deep web. And one thing that I do want to ask is, obviously, the people are comfortable with deep web coming back every week. Or maybe we'll keep it bi-weekly just for the quality of the series to be good. Obviously, I don't want to repeat the last deep web browsing, so we basically go through every good website in like record time, and then you blow your load too early, and boom, everything else is just Hitman site after Hitman. But realistically, I like to get an actual idea from my, audience. That's what the comment section is there for, okay? So obviously, the best part about comments is what is the most popular. And talking about deep web browsing, dank web browsing, dark web browsing. Oh, the good memories are back! The Church of L is so eerie, but really interesting. Video that literally just releases. And what happens is YouTube takes time to actually tabulate the amount of viewership. So when you see somebody that has like 10 views, they probably actually have like 2,000 views. It's just that YouTube hasn't actually brought it in. Remember back in the day when videos used to be like 301 plus? Because videos would actually get so much viewership that YouTube would have to jump in and be like, hold on! Let's make sure there's no botting going on. Even though there's probably so much botting. Like, I know some of those music videos aren't goddamn legit, but that's a whole goddamn different story. So obviously, 1.6K likes, I was wondering, goddamn, who could this be? Is there really an army of 8-year-olds that find this hilarious? So where did this whole trend pretty much start off with? Well, 3 months ago, Fat Pat on YouTube was talking about these comment sections. Whoa, what's going on here? And of course, I think Generic Method here actually writes it in the best way possible. Welcome to YouTube comments, a cesspool of failed comedians, unprovoked arguments, and 10-year-old toddlers. That's a lot of range, by the way, too. But it actually really stresses what the best part about comment sections are. Like, you know the best things about comments to me? One of the favorite pastimes of the internet? Seriously, go to any image board, go to any Reddit, and just click on the most controversial tab, meaning that it has the most comments, and you'll just watch people on the internet get into actual fights with each other over the fucking web, bro. Like, these people are getting into arguments with a dude that they have never even seen. It is insane. It's one of my favorite things, like, to watch. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why Xbox Live Party Chat arguments are some of my favorite things. These are two dudes that will never see each other getting into a fucking pissing match over the goddamn internet. So obviously, you know, this is a fair comparison, but one individual brings up bots, for instance. So obviously the origin point of this, or at least the earliest one that I could find, is Pyro Goddamn Cynical. Now, something about this boy, something about Pyro Live gets me wild. And obviously the trend is you take a screenshot of someone's page. Oh boy, Pyro uploaded a video 18 seconds ago. Dance. Not a single like. And this guy was the only fucking viewership that they had. Now, what's really wild to me is like how dedicated of a fan you guys are. They got the bell and everything. Bro, 18 seconds into something and you click on it? That is a level of fan every YouTuber wants to. That is crazy. That is ridiculous. But of course, going further too, it's like obviously this even trends up to like other creators as well. Not this individual says it the right way. Whoever started the 0 seconds, 10 views, broke the law trend on YouTube. Now, there's a little bit of extremes to me. There's a little bit of extreme mentioned, by the way. But again, I can understand why creators, especially smaller creators that really, you know, for them it's a big deal when they get even one comment. So when you get like one comment like every 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, depending on how big your channel is as a smaller creator, and the one comment is that, it's probably going to turn you into the fucking Joker, for crying out loud. Now, obviously, you know, the thing about YouTube comment sections is, you know how many times I'd be reposting this out of fear that I'd be getting haunted? In 1945, a young girl named Katalata Kulu came over to America in a gray boat from Africa. Boy, that is fucking racist as shit. A mysterious man killed her by cutting the word Latuatuka in her back. Now that you read this message, she'll come to your house on a full moon and steal your soul, unless you follow these directions. Just retype the message and everything else. This one's a good comment. You suck balls. You know, I'm actually pretty sure that's probably the most popular comment that anybody's probably written on YouTube. If you actually look into the metrics of it, dude. That or first, one or the other. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, you know, your boy has, in fact, fallen off pretty hard. And to be real with you, this is, you know, when you read a comment so much that you actually go through the history of it, it's just one of those things where I'm pretty sure this video is going to get, like, however many comments, and I guarantee you, I actually guarantee both my testicles on this, that statistically, 95% of the comments here is going to be, you fell off. Alright, but ladies and gentlemen, I kind of wanted to look into it because it's just, you know, when something gets stuck in my head, I really do have to bring it up. Dance! But to be honest with you, you know, one thing that I've been kind of really thinking about is maybe kind of topic to really, but, you know, we've been kind of making videos for the last 4 or 5 years. And one thing that I have actually worked on is, again, for the first time ever, I've actually really looked at it. And, you know, while things, you know, peak and valleys, one thing that I've come to appreciate is typically the fan base that we have here, you know, and from ordinary gamers, we really do actually tend to watch almost anything. What's really wild is like, I was watching an older video where I installed the hardest version. And that video did about as well as some of the other videos on this channel. We can talk about investigations, computer malware, video game emulation, the dark web, you know, whatever the hell it is. You're literally installing fucking Linux, and things actually end up doing well, which honestly is kind of a weird anomaly to me. I wonder why that actually works. But ultimately, at the end of the day, all I can really do is thank you guys for the opportunity that you've given me. And generally, I feel the most blessed I ever have by coming home from work and actually getting the chance to make these videos. So tomorrow we're going to get a little political and make fun of stressed out loyal idiots. And we're also going to get into a little bit of a post-investigation debunking. But all before we watch an interesting Garland video about... I can't even say it, but hopefully, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in. And for anybody that wants to practice the comment section, well, at least give me a chance. Anyways, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it.
Like it? Yep, Stitch literally will make this part. This guy was a real piece of work, but he absolutely helpful. I'm just willing to get done with this irritating and too middle figure of a fight. That's how bad the stuff was, right? Look around and see if I can figure out Stitch. As Stitch is the one that's basically trying to help somebody clear this guy from the path.
Anyone from the organization who'd like to be next?
Yeah, we gotta go help our friends out first.
Oh, sorry.
Then let's go! Aha! There!
What's the... Hold on a minute, hold on.
There you are!
Feel the power building. Today, we're going to cover two stories that are of the strange but true variety. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan
You sure
of the
have
strange,
lots of
dark, and
friends to help.
mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do.
So,
and we upload
I guess
once
we
a
better
week.
all
Not
pull
3,
together
4,
and
5
finish
times a
this
week.
battle
I
for
know,
good.
I know, but it's still pretty good.
Yes, Your Majesty!
It's still pretty good. So, if that's of interest to you, please install hidden cameras all around the Like Button's house, and then live stream those cameras to Facebook. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications
Look out!
so you don't miss anything. Okay, let's get into today's stories.
Goofy!
No.
Hey, you're the king's captain. You gotta get up.
On the morning
Come
of
on,
June
wake
20th,
up!
2005,
I'm sorry
a
about
40-year-old
the
man
ice
named
cream.
Wang Biang stood just inside the doorway of a little home in rural northeastern China. Outside, it was pouring rain with all this crazy thunder and lightning, and also there were these
This is
hailstones
not
coming
happening.
down the size of golf balls,
can't be happening.
smashing into everything. I mean, just the impact on the roof must have been so loud. And so as Wang was standing in the doorway, he was actually
They'll
looking
pay
out
for
in the
this.
direction of the storm because all these people were running towards him to come in the house. Wang was actually hosting a wake for a friend, and he was hosting this wake at this man's home. And all the people running up to him were all the mourners coming to pay their respects. Now, by this point, most of the mourners had already made it inside the house, and so Wang was basically just waiting for the last few stragglers to make their way inside. And so from his post at the door, Wang is watching the storm and all these people, and he also took stock of the fact that as he looked out to the big tobacco fields that kind of were all over the place in this town, that was the primary way people made
Goofy is on the scene.
nobody out there defending the cops. And even if they were defending these cops,
Just give up. It'll be easier.
Wong understood why. Yes, it was a storm, but specifically, lately
Here you go. All right, get going.
in storms like this that struck the field. And so these workers that were normally out in the fields every single day, they weren't doing that anymore. Finally, the last couple arrived, and Wong greeted them and brought them inside, and then he shut the door, and then began making his rounds inside the home, making sure all the guests had what they needed, and also just kind of making sure the wake was, overall a positive experience, all things considered. Now, to be clear, Wong was not a priest or even a parent of the It's just kind of like the all events. To MC.
Here goes!
To do these things, and so he put energy into making sure they went extremely well. So, on this day, as he was making his rounds, checking in with all the mourners, nobody really needed anything, and so Wong sort of felt like he didn't have a role, and he scanned around the room looking for something else he could do that would be productive, and he noticed the incense near the casket was going out. And so Wong walked over, he pulled out the extinguisher.
I'll help.
And then he closed his eyes. As Wong did this, suddenly there was this a few seconds later, raised by the sound of all the mourners and trying to figure out what happened. And so as people began kind of understanding the situation, they saw there was all this smoke near the casket, and all these wooden debris everywhere, and then people looked up at the ceiling, and they saw a pretty good-sized hole that had blackened char around the edges of the hole that was kind of smoldering, and then unfortunately, once the smoke really had kind of dissipated, Wong was laying right underneath this hole in the roof. Half of his head was very clear. Wong was a member of this community, and so it was a really big loss that he was dead. And candidly, this only stoked the fears that everybody had about lightning strikes. I mean, this was really becoming a huge issue. But after the funeral ended and Wong had been placed into a hearse and driven off to the crematorium to be cremated.
Are you okay?
The people at this funeral who were kind of making their way out began kind of talking a little bit more candidly about what had happened to Wong. I mean, it was obvious he was struck by lightning, but in this town, there was a lot of superstition around deaths like this. It seems like how he died is almost like an act of God.
You know, that really hurt.
Lightning. Even if you're scared of being struck by lightning.
Of course, Your Majesty, I get bumped on the head all the time.
And so the mourners couldn't help but suspect that maybe Wong was not this incredible person that everybody loved. Maybe he had deep, dark secrets. And God's punishment, smiting him for the terrible things he was hiding. But nonetheless, the mourners who just left the funeral followed tradition and actually walked over to the local crematorium where Wong would be cremated. Basically, it's the absolute final goodbye, and typically the family will stay there and wait for all the people to come by and pay their final respects, and then at that point the family hands off their loved one in their casket to the manager of the crematorium, and the cremation process begins. And so all that happens, all the mourners go to the crematorium, they pay their final respects, and then before long, Wong's family was brought inside the crematorium with the manager, and they were placed in this quiet room to kind of wait for this process to happen, and then the manager left them and went down the hall to the furnace room where Wong's casket was waiting for him. So the furnace room inside of this crematorium is basically like this big industrial space where in the middle is this huge, intimidating metal furnace, which is actually where, the bodies are slid in and burned until they're just ash. And so picture like the biggest oven you've ever seen with a big metal rectangular door and these rails that slide directly into this furnace, and the casket is placed on those rails and then kind of fed into the furnace. They seal the door, and then of course ignite the furnace, and then the cremation begins. And so the manager, who had done this many, many times, walked up to Wong's casket, which was already placed on the rails. Workers had already set it up for this process.
What's with them?
And so the manager walks up to the casket, he opens it up, he sees Wong's body, and he confirms that Wong was just wearing a robe with a belt, and he did not have a medal on him or anything like that, which was not allowed during the cremation process. And so feeling confident that this was all good, he shut the casket, and then slid the casket into the furnace, he shut the door, the big metal door,
it's his nobody!
And then started the furnace.
The leader of Organization 13.
The manager heard the familiar sound of gas hissing as the gas kind of filled up the inside of the space.
Wait a minute.
And then the familiar whooshing sound of the flames igniting. But as the manager kind of stepped away from the front of the furnace and was kind of making his way back towards the door, he noticed there was another sound coming from inside of this furnace. It was a hissing sound, but different than the gas sound. This was something else.
I'm glad we have the opportunity to speak like this, my friend. I'm intrigued by your hypothesis, and I'm finding it difficult to stave off the urge to test it. Still,
it was unbelievable that the furnace
about the
itself even held its shape. I mean, something massive had detonated inside of this thing.
Yep.
And in fact,
that's
even
what
though
worries
that door
me too.
That seals the furnace shut, even though it had not been blown off, the force of whatever detonated inside of there was so strong that the manager actually was knocked backwards from the blast. And so in a panic, he got up, and there's smoke filling the room, and there's flames kind of dancing out of the edges of this metal door in front of the furnace, and he hits
Master
the emergency
Ansem,
stop.
regarding
and
the
flames
experiment
come.
I presented
It's
the
still
other day,
all smoky, and
with
it's
your
totally
permission,
chaotic,
I'd like
and
to
workers are
proceed.
rushing into the room to
I
figure out what's
forbid
going
it.
on, and
Forget
the
this
manager
talk
had
of
no
doors
idea.
and
This
the
was
heart of
something
all
he had
worlds.
never, ever
That
seen
place
before.
must not
Just
be
minutes
defiled.
later, firefighters arrived and
But
basically
Master
extinguished
Ansem,
the remaining flames that were
I've
kind
been
of residually
thinking.
burning inside of the furnace and slightly outside of the furnace.
They are not.
Remember, this was a significant
Those
explosion,
thoughts
so
are
there are
best
cracks and breaks
forgotten.
all over the furnace where some flames were still lit. But finally, the firefighters did extinguish all the flames, and then after it was safe to be in there, an investigation was launched as to what the heck happened in there. And so police officers went into this room and began sifting through all the debris in this room, both inside the furnace itself and also
Now I remember.
outside where it had
Xehanort,
cracked and things had shot
Ansem's
off in different
apprentice.
directions. And for a while, they found nothing.
The leader
All
of
they found
Organization
were
13
basically
is
pieces of
Xehanort's
bone,
nobody.
and some bone and some tissue from him, but there was nothing else that was unusual. But
Let's go!
one of the officers did find something that was unusual. He found a piece of metal that was inside the furnace. He could not have been there. Because remember, it's not allowed to have metal
Move it!
on the deceased when they're going to the furnace. And considering what happened, they're like, okay, does this have something to do with the explosion? And so the officers can pull around this metal and clean it off. So there's some weight on it. It's not a very big piece of metal. And eventually they cleaned it off enough that they realized there was something written on it, and it absolutely explained what had happened here. So to understand what happened, you need to have an understanding of how the Chinese government responds to severe storms like the one that was going on the day that Wong was struck by lightning. So remember, Wong's village was a battlefield. Which is not only how the villagers made their living, but also, as a whole, they need these crops to be bountiful. And these storms that produce those golf ball-sized pieces of hail, those can severely damage tobacco fields. And the Chinese government... And so the Chinese government weather bureaus, which are these government countries, try to weaken these storms. And the way they do that is a chemical called silver clouds. And what silver ice particles, either makes them really small, and convert it to So, how did these Well, unfortunately for Wong, in China, into the clouds, take a rocket launcher and fire a literal rocket. Fired up into the sky, into the clouds, which detonate, and then the silver iode is kind of sprinkled all throughout the clouds. And unfortunately, on the day Wong was killed, one of those rockets fired into the sky, and it's rocket. But it doesn't blowing off a portion of his head. Embedded in his torso and then when he was wheeled off to the crematorium and slid into the furnace and that manager turned on the furnace, that hissing sound he began hearing right before the explosion was the sound of that rocket inside of Wong's torso. When the police officers found the rocket itself, and when it took off, they saw a rocket to solve this mystery. 3 years came out and said, so they compensated Wong's family 80,000 yuan, which is equal to about 12,000 US dollars. And while that's a pretty underwhelming settlement to be paying for somebody's life, what is significant that came out of this case is the Chinese government altered their rockets that they fired into these clouds, and they added this feature where if for some reason the rocket goes into the cloud and doesn't detonate, it will automatically deploy and the safety vault Alright, I have some bad news. You see, it all started about 4 years ago when I began Hornet's Nest, jamming it inside the toilets, or, you know, home, just fun. Lately, my business has begun to retaliate, it's escalating quickly. Just the other day, received a package in the mail. He opened it up, and boom, it was a brand new lily pad. He was so excited, he hopped on it, getting ready to settle in for a nap, when he suddenly realized this was not a normal lily pad. This one was riddled in poison ivy and also strapped to the brim with fireworks and explosives. It was obviously the work of the like button. And the second Lung tried to move, it detonated, sending Lung flying across the yard. And it was at that point that something happened to Seagull Lung. He got laser vision and realized he was going to exact his revenge on the like button once and for all. And before I could stop him from going rogue, he was gone. And so unfortunately, it's now been a week and I still have not heard or seen Lung. And so naturally, I did the only thing anybody would do in this position, and that is I created a limited time merch drop. I created a brand new limited Lungy merch line commemorating our rogue comrade. Right now, you can go to shopmrballin.com and check out the entire Lungy merch line that's only available for a limited time. We have a new graphic tee and tank top. We have a new pin that everybody loved. Those sold out so fast last time. There's a sticker set. There's even coasters. I mean, if you're into Seagull Lung, which I think a lot of you are, it's pretty good, but you gotta act now because I promise you this stuff is not gonna stick around. It's gonna sell out quickly, so go get your Lungy merch before it's too late. Again, shopmrballin.com and get your Seagull Lung merch, which is your way of supporting Lung on his mission to destroy the like button. Enjoy. On January 30th, 1989, two young men were working the afternoon lunch shift at a Domino's pizza restaurant in Chamblee, Georgia. Their names were Daryl Wilson and Sean Burnsett. And most weeks, this shift that they worked together was really boring because virtually nobody came into the restaurant. But on this day, at around 11 a.m., as Daryl and Sean are kind of twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the shift to end, a man who was obviously disgruntled and very agitated stormed in the door carrying a gun, a .357 Magnum gun, so a really powerful handgun, and he aimed it straight at them. Daryl and Sean were so shocked by this that at first they didn't do anything. But then it kind of dawned on them that, oh my goodness, this guy's coming in here to rob the place. And so Daryl and Sean suddenly put their hands up and they begin saying, okay, take whatever you want, take whatever you want. And the man suddenly began shouting something at them like he wanted something. And it took Daryl and Sean a second to kind of understand what he was asking for. But when they started to process the things he was saying, they kind of understood that this did not seem like a robbery. The guy was demanding that they call Tom S. Monahan so he, this guy, the guy with the gun, can talk to Tom. Now, Daryl and Sean may have known this, but probably not, because they likely didn't care. But Tom S. Monahan, at the time, was the owner of Domino's. Not like this particular restaurant in Chamblee, Georgia, but like the entire national chain. He was the actual owner of the company. And so this guy is coming in being like, let me talk to the owner of Domino's. And so at some point, Daryl and Sean understood who Tom S. Monahan was. Perhaps the guy with the gun explained it, or maybe one of them did know who Tom S. Monahan was. But either way, Daryl and Sean suddenly realized, oh my goodness, this guy wants to talk to the owner. But they have no way of getting in touch with the owner of Domino's. They're just pizza cooks. They're not like connected to the C-suite. But when Daryl and Sean told the guy like, hey, we don't know how to get in touch with the literal owner of this major franchise, well, the guy didn't like that. And he got really frantic and began yelling and screaming like, you gotta do it, you gotta get Tom on the phone. And so Daryl and Sean are like, okay, and they grab the phone and they try to call their own boss because they don't know who else to call. And as they're calling their own boss, this guy fires 2 shots into the ceiling. So this is like a really high intensity situation that's escalating really quickly. But Daryl, who actually was the one on the phone, he did his best to stay calm, and when his boss got on the other line, he tried his best to explain the situation as quickly as he could, because he could tell, this guy with the gun is very close to potentially shooting them. And the boss of Daryl and Sean did understand, okay, clearly there is a crisis happening at this branch. And when Daryl said, you gotta find a way to get Tom S. Monahan on the phone, like right now, well, his boss was like, I got it. And a few minutes later, Daryl's boss, who's still on the phone with him, was like, okay, I'm gonna patch you through. And then a second later, Tom S. Monahan hops on the phone and he's like, what's going on? And at this point, Daryl just handed the phone over to the guy with the gun and said, here you go, Tom's on the phone. And the man with the gun grabbed the phone, put it to his ear, and then began rattling off these totally bizarre demands. He wanted a white limousine to show up to the restaurant to be his getaway car. He wanted $10,000 in cash, and he wanted a copy of a science fiction novel about the Freemasons called The Widow's Son. And so Daryl and Sean, who are behind the counter witnessing this, they're hearing these demands, and it's clicking for them that clearly this guy is not mentally well. This is a guy who's totally unhinged, and who knows what's going to happen. After a few minutes on the phone, the gunman hung up and then told Daryl and Sean very calmly that now the three of them were just going to sit in this restaurant and wait for his demands to be met. And for the next 5.5 hours, that's what they did. Daryl, Sean, and the gunman, who just kept the gun aimed at Daryl and Sean, they just sat inside of this restaurant. And at the same time, you know, by this point, the police have been called, and they're completely surrounding this restaurant. And when the gunman came into the store, because this was a very slow day, there weren't any other customers or staff inside, so it really was just Daryl, Sean, and the gunman. And so it's a total standoff. But interestingly, for Sean and Daryl, who were right there with this gunman, they started to sense that this guy was not here to hurt them. He was really after Tom S. Monahan, and over those 5.5 hours, they were just sitting there with him with his gun aimed right at them. He periodically began telling them, you know, what his gripes were with Tom S. Monahan. The gunman told Daryl and Sean that Tom was specifically targeting him, the gunman, and also Tom was secretly communicating with the gunman when the gunman didn't like telekinesis. Also, the gunman told them that Tom S. Monahan periodically would walk around his property at night, kind of creeping around, you know, scaring the gunman. Not believing any of it. But I can understand why that would be an issue. I can understand. Tom S. Monahan, totally get it. And then around 4:30 p.m., so they've been in there a long time by this point, that he was really hungry. And Sean just got up. After they were made, they put him in boxes, across the counter to the gun. At this moment, would have to put his hand down. The second they handed it over, without even communicating with each other, they waited for the gunman to put the gun down, slice. At that moment, Daryl and Sean began sprinting. The gunman, who drops the pizza, grabs the gun, to really understand what's happening, understand what type of marketing is a very popular advertising. And the actually character. He was like this weird Polynesian character with big speakers. He was like this goofy thing that was the equivalent of McDonald's hamburger. This was pizza. And what Domino's did, ads on TV where the this is it. Deliveries. Destroyed. It's over. The person's house or to stop pizzas from getting to it. And so the thing was avoid noise, meaning like Domino's capable of avoiding all the chaos that could disrupt and this advertising campaign was brilliant. It really worked. People really liked Domino's because it did seem like they were superior, but also they were able to kind of franchise this character itself. The Noid, it became a toy you could buy, and they would talk about doing a TV show, a movie around this Noid character. And Michael Jackson, he put the Noid in one of his music videos. I mean, this was a really but for as successful as this campaign was, inside of this take this. So the gunman came in and held up the plate, the gun, Sean and Daryl. It would turn out the gunman's name and Kenneth Lamar money or to steal He was there to get his revenge on Tom S. Monahan, who he looked at as the person responsible for coming up with this Noid campaign. Because Kenneth Lamar Noid was very mentally ill, and he believed the Avoid the Noid campaign was not a marketing campaign, but rather Tom S. Monahan specifically targeting Kenneth Lamar
Where's
Noid,
the king?
basically making him out to be this big villain. Kenneth's plan for how to deal with this
Come on!
totally backfired, because in a totally ironic twist, by holding up this Domino's franchise and creating this huge standoff, he literally became like the Noid because no pizza deliveries could be had that entire day out of that franchise. And so Kenneth Lamar Noid, in an effort to stop Tom S. Monahan from running this Noid campaign, because I'm no villain, I don't go after pizzas, I don't try to stop people from getting their pizzas.
Out with it,
in an
nobody!
effort to do that, that
Where's
is exactly
Kairi?
what he did.
Where's Riku?
He literally became the human version
I
of
know
the Noid.
nothing of
And so
any
after Daryl
Kairi.
and Sean made a run for it
As
towards
for
the door,
Riku,
Kenneth did grab his gun.
perhaps
and he
you
did
should
aim
ask
it
your
at the two
king.
men, and he even fired it a couple of times, but he missed, and Daryl and Sean were totally unhurt. In fact, nobody got hurt. Lamar Noid looked like the Noid, and he got arrested.
He's gone.
However, instead of going to jail, he was sent to a psychiatric hospital. As for the actual advertising campaign itself, which was very successful, Avoid the Noid, well, it would not survive this total PR nightmare, and Tom S. Monahan canceled it immediately after Kenneth Lamar Noid was taken off. So in a weird way, Kenneth actually did sort of get his revenge.
Avoid the Noid. Domino's Pizza delivers. What's going on? Now.
Way to fall right
Hey
into
everybody,
their
just a
trap.
reminder, we do have that new limited merch line that's all around Seagull Lung and him going rogue. There's the new graphic tee and tank top, there's the new pin, there's coasters, there's a sticker set. It's all really good stuff. Go to
Come on, it's a setup by Organization 13.
Merch.
Zemnis is using you to destroy the Heartless. That's his big master plan.
ShopMrBallin.com. Go get that sweet, sweet Seagull Lung merch now.
The guy you just saw.
So that's going to do
He's
it.
their
If you
leader.
enjoyed today's stories,
Got it
remember,
memorized?
We have multiple podcasts under the Ballin Studios umbrella.
XEMNAS.
We have Mr. Ballin Podcast, Strange, Dark, and Mysterious Stories with hundreds of stories.
Organization
many of which
13
are not
wants
on
to get
YouTube,
rid of
they're
the
just on the
Heartless?
podcast. We also have Mr. Ballin's Medical
Man, you're
Mysteries,
slow.
Runful Bedtime Stories.
Every
All you gotta
Heartless
do is
slain
go
with
to any
that
podcast
Keyblade releases a
platform and look
captive
up
heart.
Ballin Studios.
That is
Boom.
what the
You got a whole bunch of
organization
stories you
is
can
after.
binge. Until next time,
So
thank
what
you
are
so
those
much.
guys gonna do with
Wait,
your
don't go
heart?
anywhere. If you're looking
I'm
for
not
more
telling.
strange, dark, and mysterious
Tell us.
videos,
You!
click here.
You're the one who kidnapped Kairi!
Today's story is a medical
Bingo.
mystery that comes from
The
the
name's
remote forests
Axel.
of Papua New Guinea.
Got it
And let's
memorized.
Just say the mystery illness
Where is
absolutely
Kairi?
horrifying. I mean, the symptoms alone are straight nightmare fuel.
Please!
But perhaps
Just
the
tell
worst
me.
part of this mystery disease is how it was
Look,
determined
about
that it was being
Kairi,
spread.
I'm
Something
sorry.
that took a long time to
Axel.
figure out. My goodness, the way this thing is being spread is just. But before we get into today's story,
We'll ensure he
if you're a
receives the
fan of
maximum
Strange, Dark, and
punishment.
Mysterious, delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload
I don't
once
care
a week.
about any of that.
So if that's of interest to you,
Just
please
let me
offer
into
to
the
dry
realm of
clean the White
darkness,
Buttons
okay?
laundry. But instead of using starch,
If it's
use
Kairi you're
silicone.
worried about,
Also,
don't.
please subscribe to our
We're
channel
taking
and turn
very
on
good
all
care of her.
notifications so you don't miss
Take
any
me
of our
to her.
weekly uploads. Okay,
Is
let's
she
get
that
into
important
today's
to
story.
you?
Yeah, more than anything.
Show me how important.
On a sunny afternoon in the summer of 1953, a young woman named An stood in the middle
So
of a
you
huge
really do
sugarcane
care for
grove
her.
in an isolated
In
forest
that case,
Papua New Guinea. And around her
the
were all her
answer's no.
relatives and neighbors, and they were all there to mourn the loss
You
of
rotten-
her sister, whose name was Tan.
Are you
She had
angry?
passed away 3 days earlier
Do you
from
hate
a
me?
very mysterious illness
Then
that
take
people
that
in An's
rage and
village
direct it
called
at the
kuru.
Heartless.
And in their language, the word kuru meant trembling. Now, keep in mind, this particular mystery illness that was called kuru only affected the people in An and Tan's
Pitiful
village.
Heartless,
This is like a
mindlessly
hyper-specific
collecting
illness
hearts.
that only happened inside
And
of this
yet,
little forest to
they
these
know
people.
not
But An and the
the
rest
true
of the people
power
in the
of what
village
they
have seen
hold.
this happen over and over and over
The
again
rage
every
of the
year.
Keyblade
And so they knew
releases
what happened
those
when
hearts.
you got kuru, because it was always
They
the same.
gather in
As soon as you
darkness,
began to tremble, that was kind of like the
masterless
first
and
sign.
free,
1 year or
until
so
they
after
weave
that moment,
together
you
to
lose
make
control of all the
kingdom
muscles in your
hearts.
body until you die.
And when
And so
that
in
time
Tan's
comes, we
case,
can
An's
truly,
sister, she
finally
watched this happen
exist.
exactly as it did for
What in
everybody
the
else
world
that
do you
got
think
this
you're
illness.
prattling on
She started
about?
with Tremors, stand up or walk around.
Kingdom
And finally, her
Hearts
sister
belongs
lost
to
control of the
me.
muscles in her throat, and so she
The
couldn't
heart
eat
of
despite
all
being hungry, and
kingdoms.
so ultimately she
The
died of
heart of
starvation,
all
which
that
is like one of
lives.
the worst ways to die.
A dominion
Incredibly
fit
slow
to be
and
called
very,
Kingdom
very
Hearts
And
must
so ever
be
since Tom's
my
death, 3 days
dominion.
earlier, the village had been performing
Maleficent,
all these
no!
rituals
No
and
more
prayers
Heartless!
in an attempt to
I do
assist
not
Tom's
take orders
spirit
from you.
on its way into the afterlife. And this type of very involved funeral was absolutely customary in An's culture. An and her family and all of these villagers were members of the Foray people, who were in Papua New Guinea, which is an island just north of Australia. And in 1953,
Oh, no.
when the story is taking place, the Foray people numbered about 11,000 people. Remember, they live in a very isolated forest. They're basically cut off from the but they were beginning to fear that
While I keep these creatures at bay, you devise a way to vanquish them forever.
Maleficent.
And for the most part, the victims were women, disproportionately so, which made it
Do
kind of
not
more likely
misunderstand
that the
me.
Foray people would go
I
extinct.
shall have my
We've already
revenge
lived
on you
We
yet.
can't have any more kids. And in fact, by 1953,
Maleficent!
so
Leave
many women
now.
died from Kuru
I don't
that
take
by
orders
this
from
point,
you.
there were 3 times as many men
Sora,
as there were women. In fact,
But
the leading cause
what
of
about-
death for Foray women was Kuru. But the Foray people did not view Kuru as just
Now
an
then,
illness. They actually
where did we
viewed it
leave
as a
off?
curse. In fact, that was completely accepted that that is exactly what it was. This is not like getting the cold. Somebody did this to you. Like a sorcerer, somebody, some unnamed sorcerer that's like coming into the forest is targeting these women and cursing them.
Which side are you
And so the
guys on
Foray
anyway?
people put on these really elaborate
The heartless
funerals,
ally with whoever's the
mostly to
strongest.
ward off these dark magic sorcerers that were casting Kuru. So the Foray people believed that if they just nailed the funeral procedure for somebody who has just died from Kuru, the kind of 3-day
Yes,
long,
Sora.
all these rituals
Extract
and
more
prayers they have
hearts.
to do, if the village is able to nail it perfectly, then the deceased was possibly Kuru. So in this case, on Sister Fawn, her spirit, as a result of this perfect funeral, would be able to kind of rise up and actually seek
The hearts.
revenge on the sorcerer who killed the person. And so these funerals were basically like kind of taking the dead, rising their spirit,
Maybe
and
everything we've
sending them
done-
off to go kill
Maybe it
the
was all for
sorcerer.
nothing.
And so An and the rest of her villagers.
What am I
went
supposed to
through
do
this
if I
very
can't use the
elaborate
Keyblade?
process For An's sister, Ton.
Imbeciles.
And at the end of it, they did
You
feel like
can't be
they
trusted to
nailed
do
it. They felt
anything.
confident that the spirit was going to rise up and get her. A few weeks after An's sister's funeral, An was standing over an open fire, and she was cooking some pork and sweet potatoes, and as she went to flip the meat over, she reached her hand out, and she noticed her hand was trembling, which is the first sign of someone with Kuru. Now, An told herself that, oh no, I don't have Kuru, it's just because I was working really hard today, I'm tired,
Sora!
like that's all it is.
Donald!
But she knew deep
Goofy!
down
Relax.
She may have been cursed.
Those 3 aren't
An
going
did her
down that
best to
easily.
kind of hide her trembling hands. However,
Keyblade's
after about
chosen
a month
one.
from that first time she noticed her hand shaking,
He's a lucky kid.
she noticed she wasn't really able to stand up without kind of losing her balance because her legs were starting to tremble. And finally, when she basically couldn't even stand up without assistance, this
See you
is again
soon.
only 1 month after that first tremble, she knew she had Kuru. And An already knew that there was absolutely nothing anybody in her village could do to stop this from killing her.
Sora knows the
Kuru
truth
was
now.
a 100% death sentence. And
The
so
more
if you got
heartless that he
Kuru,
defeats,
it's like the whole village
the closer
just
he
began
is to
prepping
becoming
for your
our
death because
perfect
they have
puppet.
to be ready to do this big ritualistic funeral. And so imagine that. You have this mystery illness
This
or
new
curse or
knowledge
whatever you
will
wanna
make
think
him
it
that
is,
much harder to
and you're just
control.
counting down the days until you die. But for An, even though she had seen this happen so many times before,
What does it
and
matter,
just kind of
really?
knew there's nothing she could do.
Whatever his
She couldn't
circumstances,
stand the idea of
Sora
having
has
this
never been
horrible,
able to
slow,
help
painful
himself from
death.
saving
And so she
people from the
decided, you know
heartless.
what? I'm going to do something
It's what his
drastic that
pure
basically
little heart
nobody else had
wants.
done before who had Kuru. So
There.
for context, at
The
this
dice have
time,
been
the
cast.
Foray people had been
Things
totally
are in
isolated
motion.
from other people
He
in
can't
the world
stop this.
for thousands of years. They
Nothing
basically
is set
lived
in
this little
stone.
part of Papua New Guinea
The dice
forest,
aren't in your
and
favor.
Nobody else
You will
contacted
share
them. They were
Demyx's
totally isolated.
fate.
However, starting in the 1950s, some
The fun
Australian
is in not
colonists,
knowing,
researchers,
isn't
and
it?
police
What is the
actually
point
began
of betting
kind of
on
making
something
their
if
way
you
in and
already
around
know the
Foray
outcome?
people's area. So they were making
Are
contact.
you sure that
albeit not
defeating him won't
necessarily
derail
direct
the
contact,
organization's
but the Foray
plan?
people were seeing basically
If
white
he is
people
to
wandering
die
around
so
in and around their
easily,
forest from time to time. And it was always
He
very
is of
shocking
no
when they would
use
see these people
to us.
because they dressed completely differently.
That's
they looked
exactly what I
totally
wanted to
different. I mean,
hear.
it's like two worlds totally
It's not in my
colliding.
nature
And
to
generally
hold
speaking,
back.
Anne and the rest of the people in her village, they did not like having these Australian people kind of wandering around.
I guess sometimes
But
help
Anne
comes
is
from
thinking,
unexpected
the
places.
people in my village, the foray people,
Sure
they have no
does.
solutions for me. So maybe these Australian people that have kind of popped up, maybe they have some answers about what I can do to stop myself from dying from this horrible
Maybe
curse.
everything we've
Keep
done,
in mind, by going
maybe it was
out
all for
and
nothing.
seeking help from these outsiders.
What am I
it was like
supposed to
Anne
do
was
if I can't
breaking
use the
a
Keyblade?
huge custom. This is so
Imbeciles.
taboo for foray people.
You
And
can't
very
be
likely,
trusted to
even
do
if she was
anything.
able to find a solution from the outsiders, it's not clear if she would have been welcomed back into her village. And so this is a truly desperate measure she's taking. But she really felt like she had no choice. So, even as her body trembled from Kuru, Anne managed to stand up using a stick, and she began kind of hobbling her way quietly and discreetly out of her village, something that she really never did. And eventually, after hobbling her way out of sight of the foray people, she began making her way through the woods.
What's
and she
this
eventually
place?
came to a clearing where there was
It must
this
be the
house,
realm
and
of
it was
darkness.
obvious This is not a house that the foray people had built. This is somebody from the outside who's built something
Kairi!
kind of near where
Riku!
they're living. And so Anne wandered up to this house, not really sure what to do, but she went up and knocked on the door, and a second later it opened up, and it's this Australian anthropologist named Ronald Burt, who actually Anne had seen before. He'd been coming through her village a couple of times, attempting to
Are you
introduce
sure you
people
want to
learn more
open
about the foray people. She
that?
knew that nobody wanted to talk to him, but she had seen him before. And so she was relieved. This is someone that I'm somewhat familiar with. And so as Ronald is staring back at her, and Ronald's pretty tall and skinny, he's got glasses on, he's
Gosh,
dressed
it's
like
the
a
gang
typical
from
Australian
Twilight
in the
Town.
1950s,
There's Hainer,
and he's looking
Ants,
at Anne,
Olette,
and
and,
Anne begins to try to tell him what's
Roxas.
going on with her. And as she began to talk, the words
No.
she was saying were coming
The
out
name
all
just popped
garbled.
into my head.
She realized that
This
the
is
Kuru curse
Roxas.
was now affecting her throat, the muscles in her neck, and she was not
Are you
able to
sure
speak.
you want to
But as
eat
it happened, Ronald, who
that?
was very familiar with the foray people, he could tell, based on just the way she was acting and how desperate she looked, that very likely this woman was here because she believed she had Kuru. And Ronald, who had learned about Kuru after studying the foray people, he had done some research on it, and he believed it was entirely psychosomatic. So this was not an actual illness. Basically, he believed Kuru was acute hysteria, that these foray people were just going crazy and convincing them that illness, and I guess that kind of manifested their death a year later. And so Ronald interrupted Anne, who again was struggling to talk, and he was able to communicate to her in her language that you do not have Kuru, you are hysterical, this is in your head, and you should go now. And then he shut the door. And Anne had no idea what to do. She was embarrassed. She was terrified that maybe somebody from her village had seen her come out here.
Not
she
yet.
was just trembling
I
and
gotta
feeling
look for
so
Kairi.
alone and so scared. She turned around and just went back to her village. 9 months later, Anne's condition had severely deteriorated. She basically was following exactly the process of every other person she had seen with Kuru. She had lost virtually all the control of her body. She could barely sip water. She was feeling absolutely horrible. I mean, she knew she was closing in on death. And she had not gone back out to try to get help from outsiders. That interaction with Ronald had kind of destroyed her both. And so she did go back and just was kind of waiting to die, just like everybody else in
photo
her
and some
village.
ice cream.
But for Anne, the physical
Wonder if
symptoms
there's
of
some
Kuru
sort of
that she was
clue.
experiencing
And
were
who would have
undoubtedly
left them
terrible.
for us
But
anyway?
they were not as bad, at least to
Riku?
Anne, as the other side of Kuru.
You
So in addition
think?
to referring to this curse as Kuru, which meant
Just this
trembling,
feeling I got.
sometimes foray people would refer to this curse, this illness, as the laughing death. And it's because
Hey,
during the
what if the
terminal
Heartless
stage,
are back
so the
again?
end stage
I can't
of
use the
Kuru,
Keyblade.
when you're just
That
about
would
to
only
die,
help the
you
organization.
just begin laughing. It doesn't matter what you're thinking about. This is not
But
an actual
Sora,
laugh. You're
I
not
think
thinking
you have
something's
to
funny.
use it.
It's like
If
you could
we
be
don't
weeping
fight
and
'em,
totally
the
depressed
Heartless
because
will
you know
keep
you're
on
gonna
hurting
die,
folks.
But you keep hysterically laughing, which makes your whole body sore from constantly laughing over and over again. And Anne was beginning to experience that. She would be weeping and laughing at the same time. And think about this, everybody else who's in the village, they know what this means. And so their preparations for her death are only getting more and more ramped up. They're getting ready for the big ritualistic funeral they're going to give to Anne. And so Anne, as she's hysterically laughing, is fully aware that everybody's just waiting for her to die. And finally, just a few weeks after she had begun the laughing side of Kuru, Anne would pass away, almost exactly 1 year from when she first noticed the trembling in her hand when she was cooking over that fire. If you don't know this, late last year, we launched a brand new, strange, dark, and mysterious show called Mr. Ballen's Medical Mysteries. And so far, people love it. It is a free weekly show where each week we explore a new, baffling mystery originating from the one place we all can't escape, our own bodies. Topics discussed on the show range from obscure diseases and freak occurrences to totally weird medical mishaps that sometimes result in big, amazing discoveries and other times result in just unimaginable suffering and death. So, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious, then you really ought to give Mr. Ballen's Medical Mysteries a try. To start listening, go look up and follow Mr. Ballen's Medical Mysteries on any podcast platform, and boom, you're in. You got yourself a new weekly show. But if you're super impatient like I am, and you can't wait a whole week to get a new episode, well, with your Prime membership, you can listen to an entire batch of 8 episodes at once, because they release them 8 at a time on Amazon Music. Also, on Amazon Music, there are no ads. And if all this was not enough to sell you on maybe giving the show a try, well then stick around at the end of this video and I'll play you a sneak peek from our newest episode of Mr. Ballen's Medical Mysteries. After On's death, more and more people just kept on getting Kuru. And over the next 7 years, it was like clockwork. 200 plus 4A people died from Kuru every year, and nobody had any idea how to stop it. It just became a part of their lives. And again, they kept getting closer and closer to being extinct. It was this really terrifying time. 7 years after On's death, so in 1961, a medical anthropologist named Shirley Lindenbaum was sitting in her office at City University in New York reading over old scientific articles. And as she was just kind of flipping through them, she noticed there was an article from an Australian anthropologist named Ronald Burt, the same guy who had turned On away and told her, no, you don't have Kuru, that's not real, it's psychosomatic. And in this article, Ronald outlined these symptoms that the 4A people were exhibiting that obviously were not real. They had tremors, loss of muscle control, and huge mood swings, but Ronald was like, it's all in their head, it's not a real disease. But to Shirley, as she's reading this, she's thinking, why has Ronald decided this has to be psychosomatic? These symptoms seem like a real disease, like a neurological condition. Something must be attacking their brains, causing them to have these symptoms and then die. But when Shirley, just out of curiosity, began to do some additional research on the Kuru disease, or whatever you want to call it, she discovered that there was basically no real research other than Ronald's about this weird illness. And so she decided, you know what, there's a gap in the research, and I'm gonna fill it. I'm gonna figure out what's going on with the 4A people and this weird thing called Kuru. So, the following summer, when Shirley finally had some time, she left New York and flew to Papua New Guinea, and she made her way into the forest to contact the 4A people. And eventually, she reached some of these small villages that contained 4A people, and the 4A people, even if they didn't necessarily embrace Shirley, many of them were open to at least speaking to her and talking about their culture, their customs, their history, and of course, talking about Kuru, this curse. And eventually, Shirley made her way into this one particular 4A village where she actually saw a white man just walking around in this village. He really stood out. And so immediately, Shirley walked up to this guy, and he introduced himself as Dr. Alpers, and he told Shirley he had been living in these villages with the 4A people for several months because he was studying Kuru. He wanted to figure out what's actually causing it, because he also felt very skeptical of the idea that this is just psychosomatic. It did not seem very plausible. And so Shirley and Dr. Alpers were totally aligned, and they're like, hey, let's swap notes and do this together. And so Shirley began telling Dr. Alpers about what she had learned so far, and she said that when she showed up in Papua New Guinea, she believed what this was, what Kuru was a genetic brain disease, meaning it would be passed down from, parent to child and so on and so forth. But she quickly discovered that after conducting research and talking to the 4A people in these villages, that was not the case. This was not something that went from parent to child. Instead, Kuru appeared to spread amongst tight-knit social groups within these villages, which seemed to indicate this was actually a contagious disease, not a genetic one. And so she told Dr. Alpers that now her working theory was that Kuru was actually a contagious type of encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain. But Shirley also said to Dr. Alpers that that did not explain why so many victims of Kuru were female. And Shirley also said to Dr. Alpers that, you know, I've been around loads of people with Kuru, and I don't have it, so how can it be contagious? Dr. Alpers agreed with everything Shirley was saying, and in fact had come to a similar conclusion himself, which meant he also had the same questions. Why only women, and why wasn't he getting it? But he told Shirley that when he began trying to answer this question, he discovered that actually, in addition to
what do you think,
Kuru, also lots of kids.
Oh, I think it's a great song, Sebastian. It's just, it's not what I want to sing.
Seem to be slightly more susceptible to getting Kuru than men. And in fact, Dr. Alpers told Shirley that right
I want to sing about how our two worlds can live in harmony, land and sea together.
The Sea King would make chowder out of me if you sang a song like that!
They were so desperate and grief-stricken that when Dr. Alpers
If you won't listen, then I'm not going to sing at all.
On their son when he passed to try to learn more.
Look, Ariel!
Even though that meant totally breaking for a custom.
How do I get myself into this situation?
But again, Sora people are getting
not only has that girl fallen in love at the worst possible time, but with a human!
Dr. Alpers
Ariel's in love with a human?
The 12-year-old boy had passed away.
Me and my big mouth!
The autopsy. And so he led Shirley to a clearing in the woods that was kind of far away from the eyes of the villagers, and there was a makeshift autopsy table with this boy's body on it. And while Shirley really could not stand to watch this actually happen, she did go over after Dr. Alpers had opened up the boy's skull, revealing his brain. And he yelled to her, hey, you have to come over here and look at this. And so Shirley walked over and she looked down, and even though she had not seen a human brain before right in front of her, she knew right away there's something terribly wrong with that brain. His brain was completely shriveled up and covered in holes, as if like a worm had drilled through his brain. And so Shirley and Dr. Alpers immediately knew this brain has to be sent off for further testing because something's happening here that's not psychosomatic. This is a real disease that is killing these people. About a year later, Shirley was back home in New York in her office when she received a letter from a research team at the United States National Institutes of Health, or NIH for short. And the NIH is one of the largest medical research facilities in the world, and it was where Shirley and Dr. Alpers had sent off that boy's brain for further study. And so by getting this letter, Shirley knew she was going to get information about whatever they discovered in this boy's brain. And so she ripped it open and pulled out the report and began reading.